Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. My name is Zach, otherwise known as Pulpy Syntax, and today it's been a long day. It was my final day at work for the year, so I had a lot of things to pack up and do kind of last minute. Not my fault, just more things came across my desk than I was really expecting. But we're done for the day. We got given our gifts from work, which was really lovely. And very much appreciated considering the year that 2020 has been, specifically for hospitality industries kind of globally. So yeah, it was really nice that work was able to kind of recognize the fact that we'd all worked really hard. So that was fun. And speaking of fun, today I will be reacting to Miss Amberlynn Reid's recent upload, her recent premiere from 14 hours ago, at time of my recording, entitled "This is Hard to Admit, a reaction to Abbey Sharp." Now, I will preface all of this and say that I haven't seen a lot of Abbey Sharp and her style of content. I have seen clips. I believe I've seen some form of compilation, and there may be reactors that react to Abbey or use Abbey as a basis when talking about diets and things like that. But yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not her audience member, right? So I don't know a lot about the structure of what to expect here, except from Amber's perspective. So I'll preface that I have not seen this. I know that this has been spoken about for a little while, and I know again other reactors have done reactions to this this piece by Miss Abbey Sharp. But we knew that we were going to get this video. We were shown this, peek behind the curtain during Vlogmas from Amber, saying that she was editing this thing on her phone, and that she may put it up, she may not. And lo and behold, she's premiered it. I don't know how many pieces of content Amber has premiered before, and also why would you premiere this? I mean, it's been out for half a day. It has 75,000 views. Was this like all that highly? I don't know. And now, again, critical-minded Zach, we have, the idea that, maybe this, she'd planted that seed in that Vlogmas, and then this is all coming to fruition, and it's some kind of something. I don't know. I wouldn't want to give anyone that much credit. I think that if you work hard on a video and you're happy with the content, you should share it with your audience. But that's my relationship with my audience, and perhaps not the same as Amber's relationship. So as I said, I've had a big day. I have caffeine, which will help me get through this. This video is an hour and 20 minutes. I'm speeding it up to 1.25 times because I'm not quite sure. Again, this is completely blind, which is fun. So I'm not quite sure if she sped Abbey up and I'll have to compensate for that somehow. I don't know. But we'll get into it like we do. So with all of that being said, let's jump into the video. As I mentioned, we are at 1.25 times speed, and here we go.
Hey guys, so
hey,
I have been told by several people to react to this video. I'm not a reaction channel, so that's why it looks like this.
We're 7 seconds in and Zach's already pausing. Okay, I understand she's not a reaction channel. That's fine. I also was expecting this from just starting up the video, right? I knew what the clip looked like, and we knew what it looked like when she mentioned it a week or so ago in Vlogmas. I'm not 100% sure when it was mentioned, because 2020 Amber's Vlogmas just all kind of bled together into let's open another bag of earrings. However, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to screen record and film at the same time. 7 years on the platform, this is I'm sorry. This is the same argument I make when she holds up her phone to her camera to say, "Look at this photo I took." It's like these are very basic steps of editing that you could YouTube on how to do it, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought the same thing when she did the reaction to Zachary Michael's reaction, right? Ooh, would that be worth looking at again? I don't know, maybe. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this. I don't love this setup. I just think that if you want to be proud of the content that you put out, invest a little bit of your own time in learning how to produce better quality content. It is just my opinion. Anyway,
it is bad quality, etc., etc. But this video isn't really about, you know, my face or anything like that. It does look kind of pixelated, I feel.
And that's fine, but you could. I feel like this is a waste of time, me arguing these very small points, but it wouldn't. I mean, I would say that it may not have even been necessary for Amber to be on camera for this reaction, right? She could have like cropped this 48-minute clip from Abby into smaller clips to then speak on, or cut to, or, you know, just do something interesting. I know no, sorry, I won't say I know, because that could get me in trouble. It is my perception and belief that that she uses iMovie, right? Like, she probably doesn't use Final Cut Pro, but even in iMovie, she could take a clip, cut it up, speak on the points that are being said. And I don't know if that would be easier for Amber to do, or if this reaction style content, and again, back on the Zachary Michael thing, I think I saw it a good chunk of time ago. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes.
But
also Twinkies in the background, hiding amongst the pillows. Love it. And are these watercolors new? They kind of look new. What's this on the wall? I'm getting very distracted. I need more caffeine.
It's more so about, what does Abbey Sharp have to say? I've actually never watched any of her videos before. I really want to give this a chance. I get nervous, you know, reacting to people when it comes to me, because they're very biased based on opinions they've heard about me and such. So I'm
okay. How do I break that down? They're very biased based on opinions they've heard about me and such. Look, I mean, bias is an interesting conversation to have in general. We all have bias. We all lean one way or lean another, and our opinions and our lived experiences kind of help with that. Sorry, something went up my nose. Dust. So yeah, bias exists because opinions exist, because our lived experiences exist. Now, whether or not you're saying that you are biased because of something you have heard about me, that may be interesting. But I mean, Abby, from my understanding, is a content creator on a platform speaking on health, wellness, diet, and those things. I know at least that much, right? I don't know what her professional capacity is. I might look that up, actually. Well, she says she's a dietitian, right? Dietitian's thoughts on. Okay, great. So she is probably a registered dietitian. I don't know. If she's calling herself a dietitian, you would hope she's a registered dietitian. So yeah, I mean, her thoughts on this content may be biased based on other people's influence, but she may also have that professional capacity of detachment and be able to critically analyze what is being shown in front of them, right? Like, I'd be interested if someone came to me and said, well, Zach, you know, your reactions are biased because, you know, you used to watch reaction channels 10 months ago, 11 months ago. And it's like, well, I mean, my opinions are my own, and I try to make that as clear as possible. My opinions are my own. And that's why I talk so much on them. And I do not believe I hold bias based on external influences. I like to make my own decisions. And like, yeah, when you break down what she just said, it is a little bit insulting to Abby, I suppose. Like, trying to preface this entire argument with, well, she's, like, before she even watches it, allegedly, prefacing it all with, she's biased because of the lies and people's opinions out there about me on the internet. It's like, well, I mean, give her a chance to say what she has to say first.
I'm a little nervous going into this. It's titled Dietitian's Thoughts on Amberlynn Reid's Diet and Mukbangs. This might be hard to watch, but let's get into it.
Oh, this one's gonna be hard to watch.
Oof.
Hey everyone, I'm Abby Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen.
Hey, Abby.
Hello.
In today's highly requested video.
Well, she says Abby's kitchen, and I understand that she's set up kind of in a kitchen, but I wonder if she does cooking stuff as well. I will probably check her out on my second screen. Pardon me. I'll probably check it out on my second screen as this goes on, if there's any dead air. So let me just do this. There.
We will be reviewing Amberlynn Reid. Now, I've received so many requests from you guys.
Highly requested.
Since I began this series, but especially since I did my review on Nikocado Avocado.
Ooh.
So similar to Nick, whose review you can watch right here, Amberlynn's channel has been...
Before this happens, Abby Sharp is registered dietitian. All right, Abby, you need a proofreader for your abbyskitchenshop.com, FYI. Abby Sharp is registered dietitian and the creator of the popular food blog and YouTube channel Abby's Kitchen. She appears regularly on TV, including The Marilyn Dennis Show, The Morning Show, and regularly contributes to wellness publications, including Best Health and Shape. According to... Oh, she has books. All right, Abby, get it.
Hold on a minute. Sorry, I was gonna prop her higher,
The
but
Mindful Glow Cookbook.
Subject of a lot of hate.
0 rupees.
A lot of bullying and a lot of controversy.
I'm glad she can admit that it is bullying. That's true.
Largely to her extreme weight gain and the inconsistent nature of her content.
Yes.
Well, it has taken me
Yes, and now she's realizing she's agreeing with the inconsistent content, which is fine. Look, does Amberlynn receive hate? Sure. I've said so many times, and I continue to say, I'm not a fan of hate. I'm not a fan of bullying. I'm not a fan of drama. I am a fan of finding something and being inspired, being motivated, and using that to have conversations, be it with yourself or with a lovely audience such as yourselves. So it was a perfect freeze frame. So Abby saying that Amber has been bullied online. I mean, I feel like there may have been examples of it. I don't know. Again, I'm not in this for the drama. I don't dive that deeply into it. I try to keep my lenses focused on YouTube as much as possible, and you can sure as heck bet I don't have hours to be scrolling through comments or Twitter or particularly other channels' comments, or other creators' Twitters or things to find the tea. I mean, I'd rather just watch the thing and look up the thing and put the things together. Anyway.
A long time to figure out how to best approach this video. I want to say that I think I'm finally ready. So
all those close-ups. That was great. Good for Abby and her production crew. I'm just noticing that the audio is quite bad. I can barely hear it. Again, I would presume this is because there is a camera with an attached or with an internal microphone picking up what is playing on the MacBook, and I can't believe I'm just harping on about this, but I just, as a technically minded individual who has had to ramshackle a setup using using phones and way too many cables and adapters and all of that, I just think that Amber has the capability to do so much more and the resources to do so much more, and this is what we got, but I'll try to stop on that.
We're going to
Girl.
take a look at the evolution of Amberlynn's channel and her corresponding weight gain, my thoughts on her problematic mukbang content.
This is giving me a lot of, what was it? Oh, okay, so it was the video where she was reflecting back on, it wasn't her was it her first video? It may have been her first video or one of her first videos where she was introducing herself and talking about like the issues that she has and what she wanted to address for the future. Maybe it was a New Year's Eve like resolution thing. I just remember this energy, this vibe happening. Okay.
And some of the reasons why dieting might be failing Amberlynn's weight loss goals.
Might be. Has proven to not work. I mean, look, if Abby doesn't get deep into it, I'll be upset, because the conversation I always have, for those of you who see this content and recognize things within yourself or things within your own past or your own, you know, mentality or the way that you view the world. If you see things similarly and say, oh, wait, that's a bit of a wake-up call, like maybe I shouldn't be doing that. There are years and years and years and years and years and hours of content just on Amber's channel, right? You don't have to go into the documentaries that are made about her. You don't need to go into the deep dives or the compilations of off YouTube-ness. But if you were researching her for something like this, I would hope that you would like quite clearly go back to the first, like the very first video, because that's still up, right? But then you might want to take a snapshot of the first year, document maybe the most viewed videos, right? Because that means that it had the most eyeballs on them. It had potentially the largest plot points in the narrative. And then maybe do that for every year up until we are in current day 7, 8 years, whatever it is. You might want to research like what the big milestones were. So going back and looking at Optivia and Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers and defining the arcs. I'm not really familiar with Abby's content, so I'll be interested to see the format that she pulls it all together in. But I will be disappointed if things are skipped over because it is so easily accessible. And for someone who has multiple cookbooks and like quite a standing on YouTube by the looks of it, you would probably have production assistants or research assistants who would be able to assist with that. I don't imagine Abby is a one-man band. I imagine she would have some form of assistant to help her with research, script writing, filming, lighting, all of that stuff. I don't know. I'll say all that as allegedly. She might be an individual who just cooks out of her kitchen, and that'd be great. But we'll see.
Also, once again, be joined by eating disorder dietitian Alessandra Magisano to gain a little bit more insight into some of these hot topics.
This is the real.
Okay, so it's a collab. Very good. Maybe I should. We're going to keep this running, and I'm going to pull up this video on my other screen and have a look at what's the tea.
Of course, before we get started, a few quick disclaimers. Number one, the information in this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only, so you should always speak to a healthcare provider about your unique healthcare needs. 2,
educational and entertainment. Okay. Yes, and entirely. Absolutely. As I preface in almost every single video, not a mental or physical health professional at all. Just a dude who lost some weight and who happens to talk a lot. But good for you, Abby.
This video is not intended to diagnose or pathologize.
Oh boy.
The intention of this video is to simply discuss the themes on our channel in an educational and compassionate
Oh boy.
way. 3, don't forget to please be kind in the comments, both here and on Amberlynn's channel. 4, a trigger warning that some graphics and discussion.
That didn't sound very sincere, Amber. From my ear anyway, from what I could hear. Yes, absolutely, I agree. I'm not here for hate. I'm not here for drama. I'm not here for causing it. I'm here for discussions, and that's pretty much it. Discussions and to get everything out of here, because if it stays in there, it just goes round and round, really. Yeah, I like this from Abby. This is great.
May be disturbing to some of my viewers, particularly those who have battled or are battling disordered eating. So of course, feel free to skip.
And if you guys catch me like nervous laughing, I do apologize. Sometimes I do that and it makes me feel like I'm being inconsiderate, but that's like not the case. I just get like nervous laughter. Okay.
Video if that sounds like it could be you. And finally, do not forget to subscribe to this.
Also, nothing to do with this video. There's a weird connection between nervous laughter and like the again, it's like the lizard brain. I think it's nervous laughter is like a reaction for us to show it's not defensiveness, it's like passiveness. So it's like, oh, if I'm confronted with an aggressive situation, the nervous laugh is the reaction to like diffuse the situation, to be like, oh haha, I'm like it's a funny joke, I'm not a threat. I think that's the case. I might look that up. I might be completely incorrect, and feel free to call me out on my misunderstanding.
Channel and ring that little bell so that you never miss out. Okay, so for those of you who are unfamiliar with Amberlynn Reid, she initially started her YouTube channel back in 2013 to document her weight loss journey. At the time, she was around 368 pounds. However, since starting her channel, she continued to steadily gain up to about 200 pounds and reached her highest weight in January 2020 at
572.4
pounds.
Now, I've received so many requests
That's
from...
not when I reached it. It's just...
That's when you filmed it?
I made a video called 572 pounds because...
2.4.
Like, I wanted you guys to know, like, my highest weight. I forget what the video was about exactly, but yeah, I reached 572, I think, in 2018, late 2018.
One moment. Amberlynn Reid. Search. 572.4. There is literally a video on Amber's channel called 572.4 pounds. It was released January 5th, 2020. So just to clarify, I'm doing my historians proud here. Thank you.
Something like that.
During this time, viewers have questioned Amber's authenticity and commitment to her weight loss journey as she continues to steadily gain weight despite repeated efforts to improve her diet and start fresh tomorrow. Now, in addition to her weight...
Literally, if I wrote an autobiography, it'd be called Starting Fresh Tomorrow, because I feel like that's me. It's such a bad habit. I hate it.
I think there should be a potential bracket after that. If you were writing it today, I would argue Starting Fresh Tomorrow may be a misleading title, only in that it suggests, well, you know what? No, actually, I'm incorrect, because technically tomorrow never comes. So, oh, Amber.
Journey. Amberlynn is also known for her mukbang videos, which have really generated a lot of negative feedback.
And a lot of monetary value.
Critics of Amberlynn...
I'm gonna be honest right here about mukbangs. I feel like they're just so easy to do, because it's like, I'm gonna be eating the food anyway. I can sit down, you know, make my video, which is my job, get my income. I can just, you know, enjoy my meal with you guys. So it's like, mukbangs are just so easy to do, and I think that's why I got caught up in it for so long. And I still really do like mukbangs. That's just me being honest.
I mean, sure. I've got opinions on mukbangs, and they are the following. I don't think they're beneficial, right? It's not content that I enjoy seeing. And I understand very little about mukbangs. I get the general history of them, and the initial premise, but I think that they have morphed, at least the way that I see them, right? I don't go out of my way to watch other people mukbang. I watch Amber and Chantel for content purposes, and there happens to be mukbangs included in that. I don't necessarily enjoy them at all, and that's okay. We're not all going to like the same thing. That's great. But yes, Amber has done a lot of mukbangs, and what she says is true. It would be very easy to set up a camera, to put your lunch in front of you and to eat. But I think that when you have so many of these things coalescing in one individual, where there is potentially disordered eating, where there is potentially mental health concerns, which are also exacerbated by physical health concerns, and when you're doing it for years on end and you're rewarding that behavior with monetary gain, it's sticky, right? Because could you argue that what Amber has done in her mukbangs is detrimental to her own health? Yeah, probably. I mean, this year we saw YouTube start getting a little bit tighter with like challenge videos and things like that, allegedly. And so, you know, if you were to sit down and do like a 10 cheeseburger challenge, Daddy Google might have something to say about that. Or an algorithm might have something to say about that. So yeah, it's all, I don't know, it's not very clear, right? It's all very gray. It's not very well defined, I don't believe. And there's a lot of vaguity when it comes to like the terms of service in regards to harm. So yeah, okay, anyway.
Quick to point out some of the contradictions of someone in a larger body seeking weight loss who is simultaneously participating in a trend that encourages eating large volumes of food in one sitting.
Contradictory. I'll get in before Amber does. Contradictory is a fabulous word, Abby. Yes.
Okay, so when I make my mukbangs, I don't purposely like eat a lot of food. When I do mukbangs, that is literally the meal that I would be eating.
Bear with me while I hold up the mukbanging an entire rotisserie chicken. Okay.
I have never binged in a mukbang before.
And I'm going to interrupt Amber a lot in this, I feel. Yes. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to preface this entire video stating that people's definition of binge may be different. They just may be. Maybe I can't sit here and tell Amber that what she has done in a specific video is a binge, because perhaps for her it's not. My understanding of a binge, and after doing a little bit of research and reflecting on my own history, realizing that perhaps there is some disordered eating there that I hadn't addressed, is that you lose control, you have no plan for it. It's very open the pantry and just whatever's there, in it goes. I mean, I've literally eaten peanut butter and jam together out of jars with a knife because I couldn't find a spoon. You could probably argue that that's disordered behavior. Would you call it a binge? It depends on your definition, I guess. And the definition, I think, is a hard thing to talk about because it does seem to be very subjective. It seems to be very personal. I'm so sure there are medical definitions for the term binge. And that's what I've been trying to kind of educate myself on. So for her to sit here and say, I have never recorded one of my binges, I mean, I might be inclined to believe that under my own understanding of a binge may not be planned. A binge may not be filmed. You know, a binge is probably going into the kitchen and, like I said before, just anything you can find, just going for it and not really having any cognitive perception or connection to what you're doing. Again, all of this prefaced with not a mental or physical health professional. Please feel free to educate me in the comments below. So that's that.
I think one of the first mukbangs I ever made, which was 2015, 2016, I did eat more than I wanted to because I thought that was like the point of a mukbang. But ever since that point, that was strictly just me eating what I would have even off camera. I've never purposely been like, oh my god, I need to like get a lot of food and like make this seem super extra. Like even when I did the rotisserie chicken video, if you actually watch it straight through, I ate pretty much a normal portion of it. I just wanted to seem really extra with like the actual big rotisserie chicken. I noticed with a lot of other mukbangers, they eat so much food. Like just because they're skinny doesn't mean that's healthy. But I've never like went out of my way to do that.
So this begs the question, are mukbangs okay, acceptable, and fun to watch when the YouTuber is generally thin, healthy, or fit? And are they otherwise disturbing and problematic when the mukbanger's nutritional health is already in question?
I'll let Amber go.
I feel like I've paused it so much. Sorry, I will let her talk, I promise. I just feel like I have so much to say. Her mentioning that reminds me, there is a mukbanger who clearly has an eating disorder. They have talked about it before. They talk about how they binge eat. They talk about how they have binge eating disorder, but people still love them because they're skinny. They still allow it because they're skinny, but it's like this person is binging on camera.
Name names, Amber, please. I would love to know who she's referring to so I could investigate for myself. What? I mean, but Amber, you have made the... Amber has made the argument in the past that she has disordered eating. Right? Am I just remembering that incorrectly? Am I having just Amber content haze? That has been a discussion in the narrative, that there have been disordered moments of eating. She literally just said that she binges, but it's not on camera. So now she's tying this narrative in, and Abby's mentioned it as well, because she's prefacing this argument with information that, with the hypothesis that thin mukbangers receive less attention, or maybe less negative attention, than obese ones. I would be curious as to how many traditionally thin, fit, healthy, however you want to define that. I don't necessarily enjoy the word thin. How many How many people with a BMI that is normal, there we go, let's call it that. How many people with a normal BMI, because that's a scientific measurement, that although you can argue until the end of days whether or not it's appropriate, and I understand bodybuilders, strong people, all of that, their BMI would technically categorize them as overweight or obese, even though they are far more fit than, you know, someone within a normal range. There's a waist to hip measurement, I think, or waist to hip. I think it's waist to hip measurement that goes into that. That's fine. For argument's sake and to keep this brief, I would be interested to see if someone could suggest to me a mukbanger who is a normal BMI, who also records and uploads content based on their diet. I'm not just talking about mukbang content. I'm talking about jumping on a new diet every 3 months or so, bemoaning the struggles of weight loss or weight gain, and treating their audience in all types of ways. Because a lot of the judgment, well, maybe not judgment, judgment's not the right word, a lot of the negative attention that Amber receives is not entirely based on mukbangs. It's not. There is just a large spotlight on Amber because the content that she creates can be challenging. Anyway.
But it's like, okay. But then when I have like a healthy meal, because I have done healthy mukbangs before, people are like irate. So it's like, it's a little confusing. It really is.
I don't think, you know what? Here's an argument for everyone to discuss. I don't think you could classify a mukbang as healthy for Amberlynn. I just don't think you could. Because I think that emotionally and mentally, there's too much going on attached to a mukbang, regardless of the physical quality of the nutrition or calories, what have you. I think that the act of mukbanging, I really love that phrase, mukbanging. The act of mukbanging for Amberlynn Reid is an unhealthy act. Even though she will argue, no, it's not a binge. It's like, okay, but you have told us you have told us in the past you have issues with food. You have told us that you do binge. But if your eating habits are disordered, leading to the detriment of your health, please don't argue with me that mukbangs, which is content based on food, can be healthy for you. Because I'm not talking just about physical health here. I'm also talking about mental health. A great discussion to have.
We're going to be diving.
I am 7.5 minutes into this video and I have recorded half an hour worth of footage. Wow. Sorry, editing.
Stick around for that. Now, with all of that said, many of Amberlynn's viewers have repeatedly expressed concern about her size and the implications that this may have on her health and well-being. Now, I can understand this concern, as we do know that obesity, specifically higher amounts of body fat, may put one at a...
This is useless to me. I can't see what is on the screen. It's just a white blur. Nejum.org. Oh God, I'm going to have to type that out. I whacked. So she's referencing a New England Journal of Medicine article that I'll put up here as well. Just stating, so it's a report on body fatness and cancer viewpoint of the IARC working group, published in 2016, Body Fat and Cancer Correspondence. Okay. Work.
Greater risk of a number of chronic diseases, including cancer. Unfortunately, Amberlynn did recently share that she was diagnosed with stage 1 endometrial cancer, which is a cancer in the lining of the uterus.
Yes.
Now, I will say that there are a number of risk factors for endometrial cancers, including age, genetics, and use of certain forms of contraceptives.
Okay, just to cut in with Abby here, she did put a disclaimer in this clip to say, we shot and edited this review back in September, so it may or may not be an up-to-date representation of where Amberlynn is currently at in her weight loss journey. Interesting.
But research does suggest that obese and overweight women with higher amounts of body fat are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop endometrial cancer. And
also, props to Abby. She's put all of her research links in her description, which is great. Makes it much easier for me to find what she's referencing.
Extremely obese women are about 7 times more likely. One explanation for this...
yes, it's like, I know it's my fault, and it's hard because it's like, I could have prevented this, and
yeah,
it's sad to know that food completely has ruined my life.
You have literally 2 minutes ago, you were trying to justify healthy mukbangs and how it's fine for you to do it, and you don't understand why you get criticism on it.
But then when I have like a healthy meal, because I have done healthy mukbangs before.
What? sorry if I'm yelling my questions, but I can't make sense of this. I feel like I'm losing touch with my reality. What?
And it's scary and it's dangerous, and the feeling of it is unbelievably overwhelming.
Stop doing mukbangs. Credit to Amber, she hasn't done a mukbang since Jenny Craig days. And that was a little while ago. But no, you can't sit on here and bemoan woe is me fat phobia, because I think that's what she was trying to get at in the previous point. My opinion was that, it's okay for it's okay for traditionally healthy or normal BMI'd individuals to do a mukbang, but I get all of the hate because I'm fat. It's like, no, there are a lot of things wrong with that statement, I think. It's not hate that, like, you need to define hate and criticism, yeah? Because I think that you do receive an awful lot of criticism. I'm not arguing that she doesn't receive awful comments. Like, absolutely she does. But she also receives a lot of criticism that she kind of lumps all together to say, well, you're a hater, you're not a supporter. And then she'll have a moment of clarity and she'll say, I want the criticism. And then it's just, we cycle back around. But you can't sit here and be upset and say, I know I did this to myself. I know it's the food that did it to me. When you're trying to justify your mukbangs. Just, like, take this moment of clarity and realization and say, yeah, mukbangs, like, really did me in, and I'm never doing them again. Make a stand. Just make a stand here and say, this is the perfect way to do it, because you literally mentioned the two things, like, within a minute and a half. Just say, I'm not doing mukbangs anymore. I recognize the fact that I have trouble with food. So I don't stand by maybe I don't stand by my mukbangs anymore. But she also tries to argue that the mukbangs she was doing, like, weren't to her own detriment. It was the binging that we didn't see. I can't make sense of it. Anyway.
And I regret so much. I really, truly do. And it's just, it is hard. It is so hard to have this food addiction and this binge disorder. It's just,
she said it
hard, and it gave me cancer. Like, that's crazy.
It is crazy. So why were you trying to justify your mukbangs just a minute ago? Why were you just a minute ago? Why were you saying that your audience doesn't have a leg to stand on, essentially, when it comes to calling you out on filming and uploading mukbangs, when you have just admitted to disordered eating? Like, from my understanding, disordered eating doesn't just come and go as it were. Like, you can't just say, I'm just going to sit down and eat this thing on camera, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the mark quite heavily there, but it just.
Excess fat tissue produces higher amounts of estrogen, which has been associated with not only endometrial cancer, but also breast and ovarian cancers. Another possible explanation is that individuals with higher body fat often have increased blood levels of insulin and insulin-like growth factor 1, which may promote the development of some cancers, including endometrial cancer. But of course, I am not an oncologist, nor am I part of Amberlynn's healthcare team. So obviously, I cannot speak to the root cause of Amberlynn's diagnosis. But what we can say, just by looking at the research, is that there may be an association between higher body fat and the development of some cancers. Now, with that said, since sharing her diagnosis, Amberlynn has also had a hysterectomy to surgically remove the uterus. So I
got a full hysterectomy, so they removed. It's so crazy. Oh my god. To think that food made it to her. I can't even have a child. I didn't know she was gonna bring out my cancer. I didn't. Like, it's okay, obviously, but, like, they removed uterus, tubes, ovaries, all of it. So
we know. It sucks. Like, it's awful. Cancer's awful. Fuck cancer. What's happening here, though? Like, this isn't that it would suck, right? Emotional Zach taken on the bus now. It would suck. Yeah. Like, my family, my dad's side of the family has a history of heart disease. So that was another thing that I kind of discussed as I kind of went through my heaviest phase, because obviously comorbidities come along with the morbidly obese tag, and your heart is one of the most important organs in the body, and it would have sucked if I'd had something go wrong because of my own actions. And that's what it is, right? It's challenging to say that someone, and it's challenging and perhaps unfair of me to say that if you're an individual with disordered eating, you're to blame. It's your fault, right? And I think that that's a really hard conversation to have, because it's less about shame and blaming yourself and punishing yourself and those things, and more about accountability. And it's less about I messed up, I have to do this thing, I have to fix myself. And in my opinion, more about the clarity of consciousness to ask for help, to reach out, to recognize that you're in a bad spot, and to actively improve your health. Now, for me to sit here and see another human being go through the struggle of cancer is awful. It's absolutely awful. I mean, disease is awful. I don't think I've said a more like all-encompassing statement. But to have the clarity to say, yes, food did this to me. Food not only has potentially increased your body fat, which has then potentially led to the increased risk of cancer. I say all of this potentially because science, right? I'm not the guy. But weight gain is a slow, insidious process. It keeps happening, and I've said before, you hit stages where it's like, these things don't fit anymore. It might be the dryer, or I don't want to look in the reflection in the mirror anymore. And like you know what's happening. You can feel it. Literally, it's your body. You can feel it. It's your clothing. You can feel it. It's slow and it's insidious, and you don't always necessarily want to act on it, and that's the truth. And I think if Amber ever came out and said, I've stopped caring, I don't care anymore, it doesn't matter, I think she would never, because the audience reaction to that attitude would be such an uproar, right? It would be like, you've tried so much, why are you giving up? You've tried and started so many things, and you've never seen them through, sadly, but don't give up on your health. And I think that's the overarching argument with Amber, is that every time she stops doing something, it is just cutting into that transparency of, it's not just giving up on a diet, it's not just giving up on, walking every day, it's not just being less engaged in your health, it's giving up on yourself. It's admitting defeat in terms of living your life. And I think that's what gets a lot of people upset with the mukbangs, because at the end of the day, the conversation is, you are rewarded for taking your health and throwing it away. And yet, 5 minutes ago in this video, we're being told that, no, I did healthy mukbangs. we will draw our own conclusions there, but I need to keep
for
going.
a full and safe recovery and remission from her surgery and condition. Now, moving on to her diet, I do want to start by acknowledging that Amberlynn has shared that she suffers from binge eating disorder and overeating. As usual, it is not my place to speculate about whether or not this is true. And like I said, I'm not here to diagnose or pathologize Amberlynn, but rather the purpose of this video is to review the content on...
I feel like I appreciate her because like she's an actual dietitian and she still doesn't like want to say, oh yes, this is binge eating, or yes, like you overeat way too much. Like, and it's just so crazy to me to think like...
Hold on. She's lumped a couple of things in there. You're binge eating and overeating. Sure, we can have conversations about that. Overeating, however, when you get on camera and you tell us that your binges are 3, 4, 5, 6,000 calories, can we determine that that is overeating?
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have ate a little bit more than 6,000 calories today.
Based on the science of your TDEE, yes. We can say if you live a sedentary, I was thinking solitary, if you live a sedentary lifestyle, this is how much energy you're burning every day. Just by existing, just by living a sedentary lifestyle, this is how much you're burning every day. So if you're eating over that, like, yeah, you're not losing weight. So anyway, you like, again, this is all about like the nitpickiness of definitions and what, you know, how we would define phrases, terms, and words. But, you know, if Amber, you tell me you're eating 5,000, 6,000 calories in a binge, I would say that's overeating. Yes.
So many people in my comment section diagnose me or undiagnose me all the time, and they have like no right to do it. But she's like,
they have every right to comment and critique on social media. They don't have a right to diagnose, but I mean, a diagnosis is something you take with you. They can speculate. Speculation's a thing. In a professional capacity, taking what you choose to showcase on the internet and making an educated decision, if they're professionals or educated individuals, I mean, they're not diagnosing you. They have an opinion, or they have a thought, they have a piece of conversation to be had, they have a suggestion. That might just be me. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who have tried to diagnose Amber in the comments, but a diagnosis is what you as an individual take. You take the diagnosis. I mean, you're given a diagnosis, but that's from like someone who is actually diagnosing you. I don't know. That's a roundabout conversation that I was having. I mean, yeah, I think Abby's doing the right thing here. She doesn't know Amber. Like, she's never met her. She's only seeing this from the produced content that is YouTube. So Abby's drawing her own conclusions based on evidence. She is not sitting down to give a diagnosis. There, I got it out in the end.
Respecting me and doing it the right way and really just being like unbiased about the whole situation.
Channel at face.
She is being biased though, because we all carry bias, and her bias is based on how she is receiving the information about Amberlynn Reid. Did she sit down and watch 7 years worth of vlogs and mukbangs and diets? Maybe. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she just got given, here's the top 10 videos about Amber. We don't know. We don't know how she's come to the conclusions that she will come to in this video, apart from the research links that she's given, which are all based on health. And there's no reference to what has been brought out of Miss Amberlynn's content. So that's a conversation to have.
Value in a compassionate and educational format, so as to discuss some reoccurring themes like dieting and emotional eating. With that said, I really can't confirm whether or not Amberlynn's What I Eat in a Day videos are an accurate representation of what she actually consumes in a day.
Because it's produced content, and Amber is the producer. Amber is the one in control of what she puts up on YouTube. This is not a film crew following around Amber for 24 hours and getting every single thing on camera. Thank you for recognizing that, Abby.
Every time I have ever made a what I ate today video, it has always been 100% truth, whether it was a healthy one like hi, I'm on track, or whether it was a hi, this is like exactly how I eat when I'm overeating. I've never done false ones.
I probably don't have a lot of point of reference here because she wasn't doing a lot of what I eat in a day when I was kind of catching her content. However, if we take Jenny Craig as a point of reference, she was showing us what she was eating every day on Jenny Craig. But she also did a Panera Bread mukbang and skipped 2 days with no content. It was just, I overate. I binged. We didn't see it. She didn't tell us what she had. So, I don't know. This is why we take everything with a grain or a pinch, if you're cooking, of salt, because it's produced content. And every content creator is giving a narrative. They are giving themselves in whatever capacity that they feel is appropriate for their audience. Some people try to do it as genuinely as possible. Some people try to control narratives. It just depends on the individual.
They've all been true and accurate.
But we will talk more about binge eating disorder and dieting later on. For now, I do want to take a brief look at what Amberlynn's typical day of eating might look like at the time of filming this video, which, by the way, is subject to change by the time that it's live.
September
Let's start with
2019.
breakfast. And a quick trigger warning, I'm going to be giving some suggestions on how to help optimize satiety for Amberlynn's weight loss goals. So if this is triggering for you, of course, feel free to skip this section of this video.
I can't wait. I'm very excited to hear Miss Abbey Sharp. I was going to call her Abby Reid. Never mind. Abbey Sharp and her suggestions.
So
Bring it on.
breakfast on day one, we've got a smoothie with Greek yogurt, some frozen berries.
Oh my god, when did she film this? Because I was living in my old
If you literally hit that button down there, you can pull up the description box.
home. It's so weird to see this. But this is when I was on track. I do remember this because if you see me have a smoothie in the morning, especially if I'm making it, then that means, okay, Amberlynn's trying her thing, trying to eat better.
Except that she's constantly told us that every morning she will have 2 to 3 slices of pre-cooked bacon, 2 eggs scrambled, everything but the bagel seasoning, and potentially a clementine or orange. I hate that I know that. The berry smoothie thing did not last at all. And I understand Abby is... Wait, she said she was going to be suggesting things, but she's showcasing footage that's not at all my understanding of Amber's morning routine. Okay,
And some
anyway.
spinach. On day 2 is a bagel with some chicken breast, cream cheese,
Love that
and
for me.
some Cheetos. And on day 3 it's some pasta with onion, tomato,
That was
corn,
bomb.
pesto, butter, and some sparkling lemonade. So Amberlynn has previously
Sparkling lemonade? What?
said that she doesn't usually consume
Doesn't matter.
stereotypical breakfast, lunch, and dinner meals.
Nope.
Instead, she will usually just eat whatever
Meals
she
1,
feels
2, or
like
3.
in the moment. Great. You know, I don't necessarily think that meals need to look a certain way based on the time of day that they're consumed. So if
I mean, I think it just... I'm not trying to fight Abby on this. I'm just giving my opinions, right? My perspective. I enjoy structure in my diet, right? And I am only speaking on the level of what I would recommend for myself because it worked for me. I find structure really important, and that's why IF works really well for me, because as soon as midday hits, I know I can have lunch, and I know what my lunch is because I've either prepped it or I've got chicken out and I've got vegetables out, and then for dinner I've got whatever it is. Structure works really well for me. Would it work for Amber? I don't know. I mean, it feels like we've tried structure and we've tried unstructured, there we go, days, and nothing has seemed to work.
that's something that works for her and her palate, then it works for me. With that said, I think there is some room for improvement here to really maximize the nutrition of these meals, which would help keep Amberlynn feeling satisfied longer, potentially curb the desire to binge later on in the day, and boost the disease-fighting antioxidants in her diet for general longevity and health. So
It is interesting. I'd love to understand the conversation around being satiated and binging. Because I've done a small amount of reading on what happens to obese mice, right? So on our stomach, we have a nervous trigger that, okay, so they say a lot of the time, like, oh, you know, if you have a big glass of water 30 minutes before you eat, then you'll feel fuller quicker, or you'll feel more satiated quicker, and you'll eat less, right? From my understanding, there is a mechanism on the stomach that shoots the signal up to the brain to say, hey, stomach's full, all good, we're going to work on digesting now, you can stop putting things in the mouth. Cool. From my understanding, in obese mice, that trigger, as the stomach stretches, essentially gets weaker and weaker to the point of almost failure, I guess. Like, the stomach can stretch because of overeating so much that the hunger triggers fail to get to the brain, because the stomach never hits that switch, is my understanding. There was a really good documentary made by ABC, I think. Was it ABC Australia that did it? I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear a dietitian speak on how years of overeating has affected someone's hunger cues. Because I don't know, I just, when we talk about Amber's diet, and I don't know how often I am keen on doing that because it changes so often, I don't know whether or not she would be able to reach a point of feeling satiated. And I think that would be a team effort, right? I think that would be therapy to give tools and assist. Message. I think that would be therapy for tools and assistance. I think that would absolutely be a dietitian or nutritionist to assist in a planned meal structure. But yeah, I'd just be interested in anyone who can kind of give me more information on that. Thank you in advance.
So for example, she could swap the bag of Cheetos with the smoothie from day one to pair with her bagel breakfast. And this would help cut back on some of the added salt.
See, it's so weird for me. When I make a smoothie, I think of okay, this is a full-fledged, this is a meal. I don't need anything else on the side with it. But apparently, I can have a bagel with it.
Fine.
Just don't have Cheetos for breakfast. I'm gonna say, if you want to improve your diet, my suggestion, and in my experience, and I'm only speaking on my experience, was to remove processed food from my diet almost entirely. So yeah, getting rid of the Cheetos, pretty good idea.
While adding in a serving of fruit, veggies, and extra protein from the Greek yogurt. She could also choose a nice hearty whole grain bread instead of the bagel if she wants some
Love
days,
whole grain.
which provide a lot more satisfying fiber, protein, and maybe some healthy fats to really keep her energy levels more steady. Also, FYI,
I have paused it so much. I'm so sorry, Abby. And I'm so sorry to my audience. Wow, I can't talk. Okay. So I do notice that in the past, I would have a smoothie for a hot minute, every morning, but it would make me feel so dizzy. So I wonder if that's kind of what she's talking about. I need to have something on the side that is also substantial, I guess.
Maybe. Do we think that's got anything to do with stomach, or do we think that's got to do with sugar? I mean, a bagel, I imagine, would have quite a large amount of sugar down the line once you consider carbohydrates. And I guess, carbohydrates, there's not that much in berries. I wonder what that is. I don't know. I mean, I understand perhaps not nausea, but I feel like I've experienced something like Amber's trying to say, where smoothies just weren't it for me. Maybe that was a digestion issue as well, though. I don't know.
When I'm choosing a bread,
Speaking a lot on
I
me
like to look for the words whole grain as the first
Love
ingredient
it.
in the list. And ideally, I'm looking for about 3 to 5 grams of fiber and 3 to 6 grams of protein per 2 slices. So that might be a good guideline for Amberlynn as well. Now on day 3, I really like that she's got some veggies added to the pasta, but she could definitely shift the proportions, maybe by throwing in some zucchini noodles in with the regular pasta, or a few extra handfuls of frozen spinach, just to up the fiber content, and maybe also add in some tofu or edamame as well.
Ooh,
especially because a 2015 meta-analysis found that soy intake was associated with 20% lower endometrial cancer risk. She could also swap her pasta for chickpeas. It's got about twice the protein. And
I'm going to take all of Abby's research and reference as gospel, because she is learned and educated, and absolutely I trust that the research that she provides would be as beneficial and accurate as you know, as her title would suggest.
Fiber on average as traditional pasta. But I would say that, you know, just adding in more protein and fiber for breakfast meals would definitely help keep them a little bit more balanced and up their staying power to keep her feeling more satisfied until lunch.
And there's the thing again, I question whether or not food satisfies Amber. I mean, that's a dumb thing for me to say, but do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if a traditional meal will satisfy Amber. And that could be a discussion on both physical and mental satisfaction. But we're only talking about diet.
And we know also that a Mediterranean-style diet rich in whole grains, fruits, and veggies is associated with lower risk of endometrial cancer. So just something to really keep in mind.
I appreciate her. I do. Don't get me wrong. But I hate that she keeps bringing up my cancer. I understand, like, this is all within a good heart. I can tell that she's a good person, to be honest. And I can tell that she really likes to help people. But as sad as this is, I'm very out of sight, out of mind. And that probably is 100% the reason why I am the way I am. The reason why I'm as big as I am is because
Ignorance
I'm very out of sight, out of mind. And
if you don't have mirrors in your house, you will never notice. I'm not saying Amber doesn't. She absolutely, like, obviously does. But yeah.
I hate thinking about the fact that I had cancer.
Yes. Yeah. It sucks. And you do, like, bad things happen, and the strength we have to move on and move forward is really important. But understanding where we've been in the past, I think, is really important as well. So just not thinking about traumatic things, I feel like can be a detriment. You don't have to think about them all the time, right? But you just need to address them and find a way to grow from them and move forward, in my opinion. So yeah, it sucks that people are talking, like, it sucks to be confronted, there we go, that's the word, confronted with something that you're trying to ignore. However, I will also ask the question whether or not there has been follow-up, I guess, post-cancer. Because this is the thing, this is the problem with Amber sharing absolutely everything. And it's a double-edged sword because, you know, you want your audience to feel connected with you in terms of how much content you put out, and you don't want to be hiding anything because, especially in Amber's case, it's going to get called out very loudly if she is trying to keep anything private. And in the past, where she has said, I'd rather keep this private, something always happens for it to come out in a very, you made me do this kind of attitude. This was leading to, she told us post hysterectomy that she would need to lose weight to get a CAT or a CT scan, that they could not check her lymph nodes, right? And then 3 months after the surgery, historians, please feel free to correct me, 3 months after the hysterectomy, she was due to go in to get her lymph nodes checked because they were still enlarged. Allegedly, this is all from my memory. I'm not trying to plant any seeds of whatever. But then she still hadn't lost enough weight to get the scan. And then the question was whether or not a biopsy would be required, because that was the conversation that was happening from learned professionals who said if they can't get a scan, then a biopsy would be the next suggested phase. And then we don't know what has happened since then. So cancer is still quite relevant to Amber, I think. Like, her health in general is very relevant, but I feel like cancer should still be in the discussion, just for Amber to herself, because it is a part of her health that, like, is ongoing, as sad as it is, because, you know, from my understanding, sorry, I'm not speaking for the audience, my understanding, at least, is that there is still the potential for something to be wrong, especially with enlarged lymph nodes, right? So, and yeah, anyway, we'll get
and
there.
I hope that I don't anymore. So it's like,
you hope, but you don't know, I guess. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that not knowing, like, ignoring it and just not knowing, being oblivious to it is yeah, like, it's a pretty dangerous way to live.
I try to never think about it. And the fact that she keeps bringing it up, it's like, it almost feels like every time she talks about it, I'm like being smacked in the face. And I guess I kind of deserve it.
No, but you owe it to yourself to be honest and truthful to yourself in regards to your health, and to confront any issues that arise and not to ignore it. And I feel like I can speak on ignoring my health quite passionately from my perspective. So to literally see someone film themselves daily ignoring their health and the signs of their health is really it's really not challenging for me, but it just reminds me how lucky I am that I have become more self-aware.
Take a look at lunch. Okay, so for lunch, day 1, she's at a restaurant and she has some tilapia with cream sauce,
Ooh.
broccoli, and zucchini.
Looks so bomb.
Good. Day 2 is just a Luna bar for lunch. And day 3 is a second bowl of that pasta she had on day 1.
Was she just looking at a couple of specific eat with me days? Because this does not at all resonate with me in my understanding of Amber's diet. Where are the mukbangs? Where are the mukbangs? Like, what? Okay.
Now,
So
with her
good.
lunch on day 1, which is the fish and veggies from Ruby Tuesdays, which looks delicious.
I'm hungry.
Amberlynn also mentions that even though this meal was low calorie, it did help her feel full. And
I would suggest that that's the broccoli being filled with fiber and potentially my first and favorite food. Well, first and favorite vegetable.
I'm really not surprised by this, because if you guys remember my hunger crushing combo, we want to aim for a source of fat, protein, and fiber with our meals. So this meal in particular is getting protein from the shrimp and tilapia, fat from the cream sauce, and fiber from the veggies. So super satisfying, I'm sure.
Delicious.
And I also love that this meal is not so like overly restrictive. It's not like, plain broiled fish and steamed or boiled vegetables. We're getting that cream sauce in there to make it a little bit more satisfying.
Something I've noticed about dietitians and nutritionists, they always want you to be moderate in what you eat. Like, they never want you to be super like, okay, just like a chicken breast with broccoli. Like, they always want you to find some sort of balance, and I like that.
That really helps with reducing the idea of kind of mental scarcity as well. On day 2, Amberlynn opts for
In my journey of weight loss, I ate a lot of chicken, a lot of olive oil, and a lot of vegetables. And some of you may think that that is disordered because I was eating it almost every day for months. However, it helped me achieve a level of health that I have never had. And I was able to quite bullishly tell myself there are benefits to doing it like this. Did I have a cheat meal now and then? Absolutely. Did I add sauces? Did I add cottage cheese? Did I add fats, mayonnaise, things like that? Absolutely. It would be interesting to have a discussion on that mental connection, because like we all process things differently, right? Like some of us really enjoy a challenge. And so I would imagine for some of us to give ourselves the challenge of, I can do this for a week. I can do this for a week, and then I will have this one reward. I will allow myself a couple of slices of pizza on Sunday. I'll allow myself a couple of beers. Maybe I'm really wrong on that. But I mean, when you're 500 and something pounds, like, I get it. She's more than likely not going to be able to just eat chicken and vegetables. But yeah, I don't know.
Luna bar, and while the Luna bar is a great on-the-go snack, it's just not likely going to provide enough fuel to get her through to dinner. I mean, these have less than 200 calories. The problem is, if we let ourselves get too hungry with low-calorie meals, we're more likely to overeat whatever we can get our hands on really quick.
Yep.
So even if she didn't have time for a formal sit-down meal, she could beef this up with like a handful of nuts, a hard-boiled egg, and a piece of toast, or some whole grain crackers, hummus, and cut up veggies. So I totally get that Amberlynn may be looking to choose really low-calorie meals in an effort to lose weight fast.
Yeah.
But choosing meals that are just inadequate is a setup for a binge. So we still want to think about getting enough calories, particularly from those hunger-crushing compounds, to get us to that next meal. And then as for day 3, Amberlynn has the same pasta that she had for breakfast. So again, we would want to maybe bump up the fiber and ideally get some plant-based protein into this meal to make it more filling and more antioxidant rich, and also maybe just add a little bit more variety. So we could switch up the veggies or serve it with like a green salad to get our veggie fix. Now let's talk about dinner. Okay, so for dinner on day 1, we've got 4 slices of bread with mayo, chicken.
You guys, I'm not lying. So good. And it was actually low calorie, but she's right, to be honest. I'm very all about low calorie, even if it's like not the right type of food for me.
Everyone, you heard it here first. And by first, I mean probably 25th. Amberlynn Reid is about low calorie. But she understands nutrition. No. I'm sorry. Not all about low calorie. You can't say something like that when you like freely and vehemently admit binging.
And bacon. On day 2, it's some macaroni with buffalo chicken sausage and broccoli. And on
I'm sorry, where is Abby reacting to the mukbangs? I hope that happens on the back end of the... I know she's not reacting, she's analyzing, but I hope that happens on the back end of this clip because...
It's a bowl of cereal, then another bowl of cereal, a few spring rolls, and then 6 Oreos.
Love that for me.
So again, we're seeing a variety of different types of meals.
Amber, that's not that far from what you have portrayed as your day-to-day. What in the very old house with Destiny, I still recall seeing clips of that cereal mukbang in the casserole dish. And that was like, what, 4 or 5 years ago? 6 years ago, maybe? I don't know. Someone can let me know.
Don't necessarily fall into the standard dinner category, which is totally okay. And as you guys know, I am not into food rules, even ones that say you can't have cereal for dinner. I mean, like this video right now if you love breakfast for dinner. Or
I'm gonna like just assume, could be wrong, she's probably gonna say I should have chose a cereal that is like whole grain or like Special K type of cereal, something like that.
Brinner, I guess, right? Yes, please. Yes, please. Anyway, so on day 1, we've got those sandwiches with mayo, chicken, and bacon. I like that there's more protein in this meal, but we would definitely want to see some veggies.
Vegetables?
Or like a simple side salad, just like balance things out. I also think that maybe we could go for either the mayo or bacon, since there is already a lot of saturated fat in this meal. And that doesn't mean we need to skimp out on flavor or fat or even reduce the calories. We could totally swap the mayo for like avocado and the bacon for some flavored tempeh to boost up the plant-based protein. This is particularly of interest for Amberlynn because research suggests that higher saturated fat intakes are associated with increases in endometrial cancer risk by 6.
And you know what's sad? During all those clips that she's showing me, I had no idea I had cancer. I had no idea. Because those videos were before I was diagnosed.
Yeah.
To 80%. All right, so then on day 2, we are seeing a little bit more balance. You know, we've got those carbs from the pasta, we've got some protein in the chicken sausage, and some veggies in the broccoli.
Good.
Though again, I would probably shift the proportions just a little bit to see a little bit more green in there.
Right.
And again, maybe that chickpea pasta would be another easy swap.
Getting the sense that Abby isn't a big fan of tough love, which is fine. I just don't know if this... Look, I don't know what approach anyone would take with Amber. I feel like if she'd have made a change when people were their loudest about her receiving health assistance, and actually... Remember oh goodness, this is bringing me back. Remember the mukbang, the Burger King mukbang with... I have a dietitian, y'all.
Oh my gosh. So excited! I'm like ready. I'm hungry. Okay. And now let's read comments for my newest video, which I know is gonna be harsh, but I have grown to have some tough skin, let me tell you. And I'm actually very proud of myself for that. So, the last video I uploaded was the spaghetti mukbang. That just went up today, a few hours ago. So, first comment I see is from Madison Mukbang, and she says, "Stop it, get some help." I'm happy that's actually the first comment I see, because I have a dietitian, y'all. I have to eat this.
That dietitian who blocked you? I remember reacting to that. Yeah. Like, that dietitian, she read those messages that the dietitian was like the replacements and kind of tools that she was suggesting. So, and that seemed quite a softly approach as well. So I wonder if dietitians have like, if there are different like levels of intensity that they take their clients on. It's like, okay, well, this person would, you know, benefit from a more nurturing, supportive conversation, whereas this person, and this is why I spoke about like the bullish mentality, you know, particularly if you're a competitive individual, you might want to compete with yourself or like compete with a health professional to say like, oh, well, you know, this is the suggestion that you're giving me and you say it's going to be hard, but I'll prove that I can do it even though it's hard. So anyway, just an interesting thought.
As for day 3, obviously you don't need me to tell you that it's not a super nutritious meal with the Oreos and the spring rolls and 2 bowls of cereal for dinner. And Amberlynn herself actually mentions that this was a bad eating type of day, which resulted in a bit of a binge that occurred off camera. So saying that we need to boost up the vegetables is kind of a moot point here, but we'll be talking a lot more about Amberlynn's emotional eating later on in the video. But again, this may come down to a combination of physical restriction and the experience of emotional scarcity. But stay tuned because we're going to talk a lot more about that. So in terms of my overall thoughts on Amberlynn's diet, at least based on what we're seeing in these 2020 What I Eat in a Day videos, her portion sizes are not particularly big. In fact, at times, they might just not be big enough. And that can set you up for a binge really quick.
But I feel like when she says that, it's not like she's saying, oh my God, you should have had more pasta. I feel like as a whole, when I'm trying to lose weight, I need more vegetables and I guess more protein, because those things are going to fill me up longer.
But we do have some generally balanced meals to work with.
I'm learning.
There is, of course, some room to optimize the nutrition in some of
Been doing this for so long, Amber. I refuse to believe that she's learning anything from this. I think she knows what will work and what won't, and just has given up. Because this sucks to say, but she's tried so many times, but never with professional assistance. It's always, I can do it by myself, and it never works. So it's great that you may be learning something from this, but I think the key thing that you may wish to take away from this, Amber, is that I need to find a professional who can work with me, or a team of professionals who can work with me. Because I think, like, nothing's impossible. She absolutely could, but trying and failing to do it so many times yourself on camera for money, like, surely you would get to a point, potentially a point after you've had a major piece of surgery, to say, okay, I can't do this by myself. There are things that we can't do by ourselves, and that's why there are professionals in the world. Anyway.
Particularly to ensure that she is satiated and then not setting herself up for a binge with inadequate calories at meal times, and also to make sure that she's getting in the antioxidants for cancer prevention. So for example, adding in extra nutrition from protein and fiber would help to make her meals more satiating, keeping her blood sugar levels in check, and of course helping to keep her fuller for longer without adding in a ton of calories, which may potentially reduce the urge to binge later on in the day. Also, focusing on a lot.
It is interesting as well, picking up all of the mays and maybes, because nothing works for everyone, right? Like, we can understand the theories that are best practice, but nothing works. Like, nothing is 100% guaranteed.
Colorful fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, and soy protein may help to reduce her risk of future cancer. But again, these videos are just one piece of the puzzle and may not be an accurate representation of how Amberlynn eats off camera or during an actual binge.
No. I just want to bring this up.
Absolutely correct.
I guess something else that frustrates me is, like, why is it okay for people to judge me, make fun of me, aka binge monster?
Yeah, You use that phrase yourself, Amber. Do not get upset that your audience picked up on language that you use.
And I was like, fine. I was like, oh yeah, I'm just enjoying my day. Like, yeah, I've ate over 6,000 calories, but like, who cares? No. I woke up feeling completely different. That's just exactly what I mean when it comes to like, when the binge is possessing me. Oh, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. It's just like 6,000 calories. I'll just get back on it tomorrow. Like, no, that's not really what I'm thinking. That's just what the binge monster is thinking. And I know a lot of people who binge, they completely understand like
all these things and invalidate the fact that, you know, I do have eating disorder. I do have food problems. But then if it's like a skinny person with these problems, people don't ever make fun of them. That's something that I just like, I don't understand. It's not fair. It's very hypocritical.
You're not living the straw man arguments life, right? You're not living their life. You don't know what messages they received. You know, unless you're trawling through your mukbang competitors' comment section. No, Amber, you don't know. I'm sorry. You can only speak on your own experience and what you've lived with any level of authority, right? So, I mean, sorry. We come back to like the audience that she's cultivated, right? Everybody's just very eagle-eyed, very critical, very questioning, very inquisitive, and that's just where we are. I don't think anyone's making fun of her for the phrase binge monster. She's used it in the past to vilify and characterize a thing within herself that she doesn't want to take responsibility for, in my opinion. So,
anyways,
okay, go on.
Just a thought I had in my head.
Now, one hot topic that I want
many.
to get into is mukbangs. And I've shared my thoughts on the mukbang trend, which you can watch right here. Actually, mukbangs on YouTube have now evolved from the Korean trend of eating a modest amount of food in front of an audience to simulate a social eating experience virtually, to now eat.
That is also my understanding of where mukbangs came from. And I'm not a fan of any of them.
A large quantity of food in a short period of time, aka the actual clinical definition of a binge.
But like I've said before,
Abby, thank you. Ooh, okay, I didn't know that. That's really quite useful. That makes so much sense. Okay, but I also thought there was a psychological element that came along with binge eating, which was the kind of dissociation. Is that correct? I don't know. I feel like
this is not me binging. I literally sit down with a normal meal that I would eat. If you guys, I feel like I need to film another binge. So just, you guys could see like education based and also like see kind of what I deal with. I need to film one of those.
And this is what I mean by like, perhaps we all have a different line in the sand or a different definition when it comes to binge. But as Abby said, it's a clinical definition. So this is now a conversation about language and a kind of our understanding and correlation between action and defining.
So you guys can see like the difference, because it's crazy different.
So obviously to the average viewer,
but it doesn't help that mukbangs are similar, like that there's a similar element to it all. I think that that's quite intelligent under the clinical definition of eating a large amount of food in a short period of time.
Amberlynn's regular mukbang activity seems at odds with her weight loss goals. And this, of course, has led to a lot of online bullying, vicious diet trolling, and accusations that she isn't taking her health or weight loss seriously. With that said, Amberlynn has recently shared that she's actively trying to rebrand her channel without doing mukbangs, because even though these videos generate the most views
and money,
they also generate
weird flex, but okay.
most hate and scrutiny.
But I can hate no matter what.
A lot like what we heard from Nick Ocado on his channels as well. Now, what I do want to point out, however, especially in contrast to other infamous mukbangers like Nick, is that the volume of food in Amberlynn's mukbangs pale in comparison to the norm. In fact, even though we are seeing some traditional mukbang foods like flaming Cheetos and various high-calorie, highly processed fast foods, we're also seeing a lot of less typically bingeable and more balanced meals like veggie stir fry, tuna and celery with rice cakes, veggie burgers, or some meatloaf served with some mac and cheese.
Yes.
And these meals are often even accompanied by a side of veggies or sliced fruit.
And I was still getting hate, you guys. One time I ate cherries as a mukbang, and I probably had maybe, God, I can't remember, it's been a hot minute, 8 or 10 cherries, just like fresh cherries from the produce aisle. Hate, all over the place.
Let's be real.
Yeah, okay. Amber, yes, you do get a lot of criticism, and I'm sick of speaking about the two camps, right? Because I do not believe that Amber can say there is so much hate going on, but there are supporters. Everyone who's not a supporter is filled with hate. I can't get on board with that argument. And I said it, I think it was yesterday's video, where we conversed about the two camps within the audience. There are people who ride the line. There are people in that middle row who criticize. And I feel, and my perception, thanks to Amber's content, is that she will take people who have any form of criticism and she will put them in the haters category. So, yeah, I don't know. She is speaking on her lived experience and she has the most authority when it comes to that lived experience, but I do not trust her perception in this regard.
Doesn't really satisfy a viewer's desire to live vicariously through a YouTuber's epic cheat meal. So Amberlynn's mukbangs are, dare I say, healthier than most YouTubers' all-in 10,000 calorie challenges?
In terms of calories, perhaps. I would argue that healthier for your mental health.
Yes. But why is it okay for people to do 10,000 calorie challenges? I could never. Oh my God. Ugh. I ate an apple on camera until I freak out.
The comment sections of her mukbangs compared to many others, like, say, Always Hungry, Amberlynn bears the brunt of the disgust and hate. Let's just look at one of the most popular comments on Amberlynn's mukbang versus one from lifestyle YouTuber Always Hungry.
Oh, wow.
Both of these people.
Sure.
So I wanted to read you guys the comments because I didn't in the original reaction because I guess I was too shocked. So the comments on mine are, I don't like eating with my fingers. Girl, I'm surprised you haven't eaten your fingers. Amber can delete comments, but she can never delete the fact that she has to wake up in a literal mattress-sized prison. You're so pathetic. I can't imagine this actually being someone's life. It's been 5 years. You haven't lost a pound. You are eating yourself to death. There's no way someone her size isn't pre-diabetic or diabetic.
Cool. So Miss Abbey Sharp prefaced this with, we pulled up the most liked comments on these two individuals' videos. Amberlynn Reid's top comment in terms of likes has 1.2 thousand likes. That's at least 1.2 thousand pieces of engagement and interaction with that comment. But looking at the comments for this Always Hungry individual, single digits. 4 digits? Single digits. Perhaps Always Hungry isn't as, dare I say, problematically viewed as Miss Amberlynn Reid. That may be my bias. Yeah. I mean, we speak about hate, and we know that there are nasty things being said in the comment section. We know that Amber has a higher percentage of vocal audience members, but we also know that Amber has a problematic relationship with her audience. Problematic is very much my word today.
Intuitive eating works for me. Who has audacity to say that as a 500-pound person? So
audacity?
Then we have Always Hungry comments. And she's eating very bad foods in huge quantities. It says, love your videos and looks forward to your cheat days. Yum. Girl, you're living it up and I'm here for it.
But if I go to her latest video, I have no idea who this individual is. Her latest video has 22,000 views. It went up yesterday? And her engagement is not particularly good. top comments are receiving 9 thumbs up, 1 thumb up, 22 thumbs up. So she's got quite good views, and she's got obviously like a great subscriber amount, but her engagement's kind of naff. So interesting. Anyway, you don't need me to tell you for the millionth time that Amber's audience is very vocal. It is.
Everything looks so delicious. The happy donut dance. I love seeing you happy while eating. Oh my god, this is the best donuts I've ever seen. Love ya. So it's just hypocritical, and it doesn't matter what size you are, but eating huge amount of foods isn't healthy either way. But it just kind of goes to show that the skinnier you are and the more attractive you are, the more accepting it is to do really anything. Mukbangs are only...
Look, someone let me know if you are an Always Hungry historian or know that story. Is Always Hungry as problematic as Amber? As vitriolic, as troublesome, as vocal, as gaslighty, as you could go on. As manipulative as... I'll stop. And I'll say all of this with a big asterisk of allegedly. Perhaps Always Hungry hasn't been treating her audience with what seems like disdain and punishing them for whatever transgressions individuals are taking. And are there any reactors to Always Hungry? Let me know in the comments below.
One example of this.
Oh, wow.
Both of these people post about wanting to get or stay fit, but the primary difference is that Lydia Adams from Always Hungry is
she's
already
pretty.
in a socially desirable body, and Amberlynn is not.
Does that mean, Miss Dietitian, does that mean that Always Hungry has a healthy BMI? Or a normal BMI? Sorry, that's the correct definition, right? Because then, yeah, you would receive less criticism because she's not putting her health as apparently at risk as Amber is on this platform, would be my argument.
So why does someone's body size influence our perception about whether or not mukbangs are acceptable? And why is eating any amount of food that is not considered diet food not socially acceptable from somebody in a larger body? Here's the thing. I am by no means condoning mukbang videos of any kind, even the more modest versions on Amberlynn's channel. I honestly think that this is a really problematic YouTube trend that perpetuates a lot of disordered eating behaviors.
Hey!
But
okay, I don't mean to interrupt her because
I don't mean to interrupt Amber. Thank you, Abby. I really appreciate that perspective from an educated and learned individual. I am not educated and I am not learned, and I also think that mukbanging on camera is problematic for an individual's mental health. Because I already, from my perspective, I already had enough issues with eating by myself for comfort and escapism. I would hate to consider if someone were paying me to do that, just how tempting, just how easy that would have been. Could you imagine? Could you imagine paying for your groceries just to sit on camera and eat poorly? Madness. And I think that would, I'm only speaking for me, I think that would have played havoc with my mental health and my relationship to food that I had to address very, very keenly this year.
she's on a roll and she's on a good roll. Love it. But I feel like mukbangs should be okay if it's an actual meal that you're going to sit down and eat.
I don't, because I think it's unhealthy in regards to the mentality of it all. I think it's unhealthy to say, you can eat this thing, and it doesn't matter if you'd eat it anyway. I mean, Amber's diet is not great. If she's going to sit down and eat a pizza, she's going to do it on camera, she's not going to do it on camera. But the problem with doing it on camera is you're rewarded for it. Not only are you rewarded for it in your taste, in your desire for bad food, that's a pretty base statement for me to say. Not only are you rewarded in the feel-good centers of your brain for eating calorie-dense food that may not be healthy, that may not be healthy for you, but you're also rewarded monetarily. And then you have to also consider all of the potential trouble you can get into when it comes to attention-seeking behavior, and how that can be another mental challenge where you may use the phrase self-destructive. Anyway.
We're in a binge, not purposely binging for the camera, not purposely ordering 7 different meals from a restaurant.
No, but if you tease the idea that you have disordered eating and that you do binge and then you eat on camera, like, for me, the link is there. Like, the link in the argument is there. Hi, I have disordered eating. I binge. This is not a binge, but I'm going to show me eating on camera and receiving monetary gain from it. There is a direct link in this conversation, Amber, and she's choosing to ignore it right at the end. Right at the end, where she just can't fathom the idea that I have disordered eating and I have problems, but when I sit down and eat something healthy and I was going to eat it anyway, why should it matter that the camera's on? It should matter because it's affecting you mentally, whether you're aware of it or not. It is reinforcing a behavior that is detrimental to your physical and mental health, in my opinion.
I feel like if it's a normal meal that you would eat, I feel like that should be okay for anybody.
I would love, Amber, to see a therapist and a dietitian or nutritionist and to understand their perspective on it. Because I'm not learned in this, and I'm just making like vague statements in my understanding of it as an audience member. So let's look. She would benefit greatly from professional help is all I'm saying.
These behaviors are unhealthy regardless of size. Repeatedly eating large amounts of highly processed foods in one sitting can lead to increased blood pressure and blood sugar, water retention, shifts in one's gut microflora, and dysregulated mood. But it's very clear that the negative public perception of Amberlynn's content is unique because of her size. And that's nothing new. Research suggests that society's negative attitudes towards obese people play a significant role in their psychological and their physical health. I get that a lot of people think that trolling an obese person about their weight or offering like aggressive dieting advice might motivate these individuals to adopt healthier behaviors. But statistically, the opposite is true. Research.
I will let her go on. I'd be interested to see, because at my biggest, I was not motivated. Like, I didn't have any motivation. And some people tried to, like, individuals tried to motivate me in different ways. They would try to motivate me through challenge and through competition and things like that. And it never worked. It never worked because at my biggest, I didn't have any motivation and I had piss poor willpower. So for me, I had, like, I would see a challenge or I would, you know, be put to task and I would say no. I'd throw in the towel and be like, I can just go eat some ice cream. It's fine. Like, I don't want to actively engage in life, really, was the ultimate sadness of it all. I don't want to actively engage with another individual who I understand is trying to better me, to assist in bettering me. And I feel like that conversation all kind of envelops in, I don't necessarily agree with the term aggressive diet advice. I mean, I think aggression, particularly in the online sphere, can be difficult to convey in written language. Not always impossible. Like, rudeness is pretty easy. Aggression may be harder. I don't know. Maybe that's incorrect of me to say. Anyway, we'll get back to it.
Shows that the experience of weight stigma reduces exercise frequency and increases binge eating, unhealthy weight control behaviors, and binge eating disorder.
Yep, been there.
I have talked about this before, and I have said before that tough love does not work on me. If you're supportive and you're...
But it doesn't seem like soft love works either. So I'm yet to see anything work. As an audience member, that's just the truth. I'm yet to see anything work.
Positive and you're uplifting, that is the type of energy that I thrive on as a person in any sort of way.
But who are you getting that from? Who are you getting uplifting positive vibes from? Because you can't expect it from your audience anymore, Amber. Maybe you could have when you started this journey. Maybe you could have 3 years ago even. But you can't expect it from your YouTube audience at this stage. And your camera is not your therapist. and your audience isn't here to give you advice. That's not the duty of the audience. The audience has no duty. They're there to be there. They're there to be consuming your content, and they have no other responsibility or cause that they need to work towards. So who out there is giving Amber the positive vibes and the support that she needs to do the damn thing? No one, because she's inactive in her own life and unwilling to seek professional assistance.
And every time I sit here and I'm like, okay, I'm a YouTuber, let's look at the comments. That's important.
Is it important? Is it important for Amber? Amber doesn't seem to react no, that's incorrect. She does react on the comments. She doesn't seem to have a lot of engagement with individuals within her audience, and her audience is huge. So what is the important thing in terms of jumping into your comments? And I'll say it again, I've been saying it a lot this week. I feel like Amber both understands how to provocate but in my opinion, Amber understands how to get a reaction out of her audience, but I don't think she understands her audience and their interests in general, because she doesn't handle her community with care at all. It's just reckless aplomb. Anyway,
I get this overwhelming sense to binge. It happens a lot.
Seek therapy.
And I have shared this before, and people always just say, stop blaming us. Stop blaming us. That's just a way to invalidate true psychological damage that you guys are doing to me.
Whoa. That's a big statement, and I don't know if I want to touch it.
And I know a lot of people can also say, get off of YouTube. Get off of YouTube. Why are you here then if it bothers you so?
Take a break, turn off the comments. I mean, yeah, it sucks that hate exists. It sucks that there's such vitriol occurring. But you also have to be able to help yourself, to take a step back from it. Because I guess maybe it's a conversation about obsession, right? Maybe she just can't keep out of the chat. She can't keep out of knowing what people think about her. So that's another thing that I think you could work on. I think that you should have some tools in your kit to be able to not get anxious over people having conversations about you, because people having conversations about you has nothing to do with you. You're the subject, but in the comments, I guess you could argue it is currently the aim to have a comment seen by Amber almost, but you could argue that that's kind of brought upon itself. Every year we go back and do rewinds and we see her doing comments of the day, her reading the comments, her addressing the comments, and none of it's really calling anything out. It's just saying, this is hate-filled. I get no support. I'm being damaged. Now she's literally said I'm being psychologically damaged. Wow. Couldn't say that word properly. Psychologically damaged because of the comments on my videos. It's a big step to take, with taking zero responsibility for your perception of it, right? And I feel like I'm treading dangerous ground, because I don't ever want to come across as saying there is a victim responsibility to any aggression or bullying or behavior of that type. There is no sense in shaming a victim, and it's awful that happens, and I'm trying not to do that here, because I don't want to victimize Amber on this platform. because there's just a lot of Amber that seems to be a cause. And that really sucks to say. But this conversation is now sticky. It doesn't make me feel good to have this like train of thought. I don't know.
Bad. I feel like we need to focus on taking out the bad vibe people, taking out the bullying, instead of taking out the YouTuber who's literally just doing their job and doing something that they're passionate about.
In fact, one study on more than 2,400 overweight and obese women reported that 79% of participants coped with weight stigma by eating more food, and 75% of participants coped by refusing to change their diet. In addition, weight stigma can also cause psychological stress, which can increase the risk of depression, low self-esteem, and body dissatisfaction.
It's hard having these conversations because Amber has put herself in this situation. No one has forced Amber's hand. No one has forced Amber to eat on camera for money. No one has forced her to do this job. And no one has forced her to have negative interactions with her audience and to lose respect from her audience and to lose trust from her audience. No one has forced her to do any of these things. So she, in this now, instead of edging into a victim and into a victim imagery, which I was kind of getting that pull on, instead, it's zero responsibility, Amber. It's, well, I'm just here doing a job. No, you're not. I will, sure, if you consider this your career and job, sure, Mary, but no one has chained you to this bed and forced you to film yourself eating for monetary gain. And I believe that the benefits she has received from eating on camera has led her down this entire history where she is now super morbidly obese and has deteriorating health. The psychological impact of everything that goes along with all of that is unaddressed. The physical health that is deteriorating in front of her audience's very eyes continues to go unaddressed. So I don't think victimizing yourself here in regards to your audience and their perception and attitudes towards you as the content creator is key here. There are a lot of points that are far more important for you to grab a hold of than my mental health is suffering because of the audience. I think this is very tricky.
See how this experience may actually perpetuate some of these unhealthy, destructive behaviors. So are internet trolls the reason for Amberlynn's extreme weight gain?
Absolutely not. No. I'm sorry. There has to be some form of responsibility on Amber's part. I hope. I mean, that question kind of seems pretty charged, but no. Online trolls were not the one to force the hand. It was Amber's hand. Amber did that. In my opinion.
I'm going to answer this. I'm going to answer this before she says anything. I don't know what she's going to say. I was 420 pounds at the age of 16, and I didn't really have like social media. You know, I had a MySpace, and people were super sweet to me on there. So I am not this weight because of haters. I'm strictly this weight because of me. But I don't know if I'd be this big if it wasn't for YouTube.
Because of the mukbangs?
I know that I would still be fat for sure, but you know what? I really don't know.
I mean, if you go into adolescence as an overweight individual, is there? Look, professionals, let me know. I'm sure there is a correlation between obesity in adolescence and continued obesity as an adult. I would assume that there are patterns of behavior that continue and go unaddressed in a large portion of society that have relation to relationships between an individual and food. Poor relationships between an individual and food can lead to, overeating, undereating, disordered eating. It goes on. So, I mean, I do not like the fact that Amber even hinted there that, oh, well, you know, I don't know if I'd be this big if I wasn't getting so much attention on YouTube. It's like, but you're the one eating, you're the one making the decision to eat on camera and provoke your audience.
Started her journey online.
Nature agrees.
Well, according to the research, and simply by looking at the comment section of even just one of her videos, I would say that this is a real possibility.
Oh.
And considering that Amberlynn's weight gain and mukbang behavior has become so ingrained in her online identity, she might feel that it's understandably a really difficult pattern to break. Now,
yeah, it's almost like it goes unaddressed for years and years and years on end. And it's almost like she does nothing to help herself. Oh, I don't like that comment.
while my own personal and professional experiences see mukbangs as often really problematic, I'm also totally open to the possibility that they may play a therapeutic role for Amberlynn.
Mm-hmm.
In one of her videos, Amberlynn mentions that eating in front of the camera just actually increases her awareness around what she's eating and allows her to eat at a more slow pace and more mindful pace compared to how she might eat off camera, which is usually...
Abby, I'll stop you there. There is a video of Amber out there saying, oh, I get really awkward when I'm eating on camera and I feel like I have to eat really fast because otherwise it's just quiet and I'm not talking.
I do chew really fast. Some of you think I eat too fast, and I'm so sorry. I think it's a lot because, like, I'm recording and I don't want the video to be too long, and it's like, while I'm eating, I keep thinking, like, oh my god, should I talk?
I mean, I'm sure that video is like 4 years old. Historians, feel free. But it exists out there. Yeah. Was it the house before the apartment with Destiny? Maybe.
in front of the television.
This is another example of, like, I wish I could show you. Which I can, but I don't want people to, like, be like, oh, she's only doing it for the money or for the views or whatever. But when I eat by myself, I eat so fast. It's almost like 1 minute I have a whole plate, next minute I'm like, did I just take my last bite? Like, what in the world?
Oh, you're not mindful of your eating? Who'd have thought?
Slow me down, and I'm more aware of what I'm doing.
Because of this, she states that she actually often ends up eating less on camera compared to when she's eating when nobody's watching.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting kind of full, if I'm being honest. The egg rolls come in a 2-pack, and I get them from Walmart. It's over by the deli aisle. $1 for 2, and they're huge. Like, I only need 2, but I figured since I was filming a mukbang, I would eat 4.
there's a few reasons why this might be. For one, it may be that her audience gives her a sense of accountability with her weight loss goals.
Yeah.
Now, accountability isn't...
No, I do not believe Amber has as much self-awareness to have a level of accountability. I don't believe she has that relationship with her audience anymore. You can rewind to when she started and she literally said the channel was designed to keep her accountable to her audience.
I think making these YouTube videos, it might make me accountable. I just think it would really help me. I watch so many people who make videos and they're so inspirational, and maybe I can be an inspiration for somebody. I don't know. I'm not really doing this for other people, I'm more so doing it for myself, but if I can help somebody along the way, then that's even better.
Amber is not accountable to her audience anymore. She does not have that relationship with her audience anymore. Because there is no accountability. Because people scream for details and information and Amber will just dangle the carrot and stir the pot. So, I disagree.
Important element in a lot of weight loss programs and also in eating disorder recovery plans in an effort to maintain some structure around food and normal eating behaviors. In the context of disordered eating behaviors, which is what I would characterize some of the mukbang binging to simulate, the feeling of being watched by followers on YouTube is kind of similar to what might happen in real eating disorder recovery programs where meals are supervised by a member of their treatment team.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the audience's responsibility to do that, Abby. It may simulate a similar experience, but I don't believe Amber's ever gone through a eating recovery situation type deal. So coincidentally, yes, it may simulate an interaction, but I don't think that impacts Amber.
I don't binge in front of people. That is something I do not do. And the only...
Again, Abby is defining binge by the clinical definition. Abby is defining that by the clinical definition, and Amber may have a different definition for what binge means to her, which would be a great idea to explore with a mental health professional.
The person who has seen me binge is always the person I'm in a relationship. And even then, it's like very like humiliating. But I have never binged in front of a friend. I've never binged in front of a family member or just someone I know. It's never, ever, ever happened. So it's like, why would I do it on camera, you know?
We also know that most eating disorder behaviors happen in private. So it is statistically unlikely that she would invite us, the viewer, to witness an extreme binging episode.
Correct. We're just supporting her monetarily in regard to benefiting while eating on camera. Perhaps a professional might say all of Amber's eating is disordered. I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe. I mean, sure, you have episodes of binging, but your relationship with food is super bad. So regardless of what you want to call what you do on a mukbang or what your definitions are, your relationship with food is bad. And your relationship being beneficial to you in a monetary sense is not going to help you change. It is just reinforcing bad practice. Anyway.
Now, the other potential benefit of the mukbang format is that Amberlynn herself suggests that eating for the camera encourages her to eat more mindfully and slowly, both of which are healthy eating practices. So research suggests that eating slowly without distractions allows your body more time to release satiety hormones. In contrast, eating while distracted, like watching TV or on your phone, can lead to faster eating and eating past the point of fullness.
What can I do? Maybe I can go to my YouTube and read some comments. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go to the actual video and see what the top rated comments are, which I never do this, so this is gonna be real weird. Okay. The first comment I see is, it's scary how quickly Becky is gaining weight. Okay. Let me stuff my face real fit.
In fact, one study found that TV watching while eating increased food intake by up to 71%.
I'm always
Research
watching
has
something.
also shown that mindfulness can be a useful tool to reduce emotional eating and the frequency of binge eating episodes, both of which Amberlynn claims she struggles with. So one study found that obese women doing mindfulness exercises decreased their binge eating episodes from 4 times a week to 1 to 2 times a week.
Awesome.
That is powerful stuff. So I can't say that
wow.
mukbangs are a hindrance to Amberlynn's weight loss efforts. And it's very possible that the blatant weight stigma and trolling in the comment sections of these videos play a larger role.
Yeah. Yeah. I just hate blaming anyone other than myself, I guess.
Hold up. Editing Zach, if you could do me the honors.
Stop blaming us. Stop blaming us. That's just a way to invalidate true psychological damage that you guys are doing to me. But yeah, mukbangs are not what causes me to gain weight, because like I've said before, I never purposely go out of my way to eat a huge portion of food for a mukbang ever.
Okay.
But is an online troll really the only cause of such a dramatic shift in weight over time?
No, Abby, it is her relationship with food. Just a general statement from my understanding as an audience member. Amberlynn Reid has a bad relationship with food. I don't think anyone would argue against me on that.
I want to talk about some of the other potential contributing factors to Amberlynn's public weight gain. According to Amberlynn, she's been classified as overweight for as long as she can remember and was just 11 years old when she first went on a diet.
Yes.
So since then, she says that weight loss is kind of on her mind 24/7.
It is.
And she really doesn't know what life is like without worrying about her weight.
Nope.
She even has a video where she lists 100 reasons why she wants to lose weight, which includes things like reducing her risk of disease, as well as engaging in seemingly normal experiences like dancing, traveling, and walking on the beach.
Another reason why I want to lose weight is because I want to focus more on my mental health. I feel like I am constantly thinking of my physical health and weight loss and that I kind of put my mental health on the back burner, which isn't good because a big portion of the reason why I am the way I am is because of my mental state.
So despite people's skepticism of Amberlynn, I think it's pretty clear that weight loss is something that she strongly desires, and she recognizes that her weight gain does have implications for her quality of life. So why is weight loss so hard for Amberlynn to achieve?
Oh, I'm starting to get emotional
according
again.
to the literature, it can be really challenging for a lot of people to achieve and maintain weight loss long term. Even the most liberal...
But she hasn't been successful in weight loss in general. She hasn't even done the short term. I mean, what this time? That's not to take away the success of the 90 pounds or 80 pounds that she lost this time around. And before that was when it all first started, and it was the famous 89 lbs. But it's 7 years. 7 years of trying. It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of weight to lose, but there's zero longevity in it, any of it. And if you just map out the 6 to 7 years that are on YouTube, it's gaining. It's a weight gaining journey.
Research tells us that most people who engage in intentional weight loss behaviors, on average, lose and maintain no more than 6 to 10% of their weight. So for somebody who is overweight or obese,
which probably would be within the consideration of Amber at her weights during weight loss, right?
they will likely remain in these categories after their maximum realistic amount of weight loss is achieved. We also know that there's a high rate of weight regain after a period of significant weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, I hate hearing stuff like this because that's honestly reality. Is a lot of people gain their weight back. As you guys know, I was down almost 100 pounds just recently.
Yeah.
Fuck. Ugh. I'm trying my hardest not to be emotional, but I'm emotional lately. But I've gained about 40% of that back, and maybe 50%, to be honest.
You could just say 40 pounds, 50 pounds.
That's hard to wrap my head around. And it's like all these people I used to be really inspired by a few years ago, like Instagram weight loss people, they've now gained their weight back too. Not all of it, obviously, but it's like losing weight is so hard, but maintaining it is even harder. And that scares me for my future.
Also known as weight cycling. So one study found that individuals typically regain 30 to 35% of their weight a year later, and will often regain most of the weight or more within 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
This may be one reason why Amberlynn regained the weight that she lost, those 89 pounds, and continues to gain more. This is not to say
And it definitely didn't take 5 years. It was relatively quick.
that it's impossible to sustain long-term weight loss. You can find tons of examples of people who do it every day,
Mm-hmm.
and I do believe absolutely that it can be done. However, the data tells us that maintaining significant weight loss for over 5 years is more of an exception rather than the rule.
Yes.
With that said, obesity is a complex issue and cannot simply be resolved by eating less and exercising more. If it were that simple, we probably wouldn't be seeing Amberlynn going on a diet after a diet to lose weight only to regain it back. Oh,
Yeah, like all the comments in my comment section, like when they say, all you have to do is eat less and exercise, it's not that hard. I'm just like,
No, all you have to do is take the step. Take the step and recognize that you can't do this alone. It's not like, for me, it was a matter of eating less and exercising more because I changed my mentality around it all. I don't think Amber will have the ability to change her mentality and truly analyze her relationship with food and with herself. So that first step, I think for Amber, and I hope, will be to seek professional assistance and hold herself accountable, because she relies on her audience to hold her accountable, and that's just not what her audience is there for.
You've never experienced being in my shoes. You don't know psychologically what's going on. You just don't know. Obviously, you've never felt the way that I do.
Correct. It's all just the perception that we understand as audience members. It is how things are framed. It is what is shot and what is not shot. So, and this cycles back into the conversation of knowing the real Amber. It's like, no, we don't. Like, it's all produced content. You have to take everything with the lens of it is media. It is not a snapshot into her real life. This is not a window into her existence. And that's kind of one of the troubles with vlogs, is that, you know, they can be as disingenuous as the creator intends.
Because it's really not that easy to just choose an apple over a Snickers bar. And I always use that example because that's reality.
Yeah, but you can find tools and you can work on yourself to make it so that perhaps the majority of the time you are choosing that apple over the Snickers bar. But you can't just, like, it is clear that Amber can't just do it herself.
Choosing an apple over a Snickers bar is what I need to do 8 times out of 10, but it's what I don't do, you know?
So putting oneself on really restrictive diets in an effort to lose weight often sets one up for a future binge.
Mm-hmm.
And Amberlynn herself has confessed that stages of restriction and deprivation often trigger her to binge and overeat.
Yes, if I am restricted too hard, it's just ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. I'm not going to lose weight because I will and I do binge. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
If only there were entire industries and careers out there who could assist with that.
And a lot of people want me to go on Dr. Now's like 1,200 calorie diet, and I'm just like, do you guys want me to lose weight, or do you want my eating disorder to get worse? I can't figure it out, because if I ever try to do 1,200 calories,
supervised. That's the important thing that a lot of people forget about 600-pound life, is the level of supervision and check-ins and accountability and responsibility and support that all of these people may or may not, depending on the season and like the individuals themselves, to pick up the assistance when they return home, for instance. Yeah. Could you do 1,200 calories alone? I don't think she could. But, you know, that's why you build a team, surround yourself with a support network, make positive changes within your own life and live a better life and find accountability and do all of these things.
I would probably get to 800 pounds because I physically could not do it, because I have binge eating disorder. I'm not just like another normal person who, you know, loves to eat, so they're kind of overweight. No, something's not right up here.
We get this all the time, Amber. You tell us something's not right mentally. So please go and get it. Go and get it checked. Go and get help. Because you don't care for yourself. You don't care for your health at all. We discussed how it took multiple years to end up with the cancer diagnosis. So how many years does it have to take before the mentality surrounding health and food is addressed? Because she can't do it alone.
This is why the new obesity guidelines suggest that rather than suggesting somebody just eat less to weigh less, it's more important to focus more on the root cause of an individual's weight gain and healthy behaviors that they can actually sustain. Now, one of the many reasons why just eating less doesn't always work is that food is often used as an ineffective coping mechanism to soothe negative emotions.
Yep.
So Amberlynn's documentation of her emotional eating episodes are often peppered with depressive episodes and follow along the typical cycle of guilt, shame, regret, and fear of losing control. This is why one of the first steps to dealing with emotional eating is to help identify and differentiate physical and emotional hunger while working with your therapy team to really find other effective coping mechanisms to help manage those emotions.
Imagine a therapy team. Oh, Abby, thank you.
I talk about this in a lot more detail in my video on emotional eating, which you can watch right here. However, I just want to summarize the differences between emotional hunger and physical hunger. Physical hunger develops gradually, whereas emotional hunger comes on usually pretty suddenly, abruptly, often accompanied by some kind of really strong emotion.
Wow.
Emotional hunger often also can drive you towards one specific food, whereas physical hunger often is a little bit more flexible and more open to what's available.
Wow, this is like making me realize that I only ever eat out of emotional hunger.
If Amber is realizing this for the first time, I'm upset. There are times... No. No. Well, I mean, I prefaced the question in a few vlogs that, in a few reactions, that I don't think Amber's felt true hunger for a long time. Because physically, I said it at the start of this vlog, the start of this reaction hours ago, that her hunger triggers probably are minuscule, non-existent, however that works. I don't think she's felt physical hunger in a very long time.
Wow. It often has a clear endpoint, so you're usually able to experience the onset of fullness and take it as a cue to stop eating. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you're eating out of emotional hunger, it's often more difficult to feel satisfied or full. And when you don't, it often triggers further feelings of guilt and shame. Now, before we dive deeper into these topics with Alessandra, I want to talk about Amberlynn's current weight loss plan since reaching her highest weight of 572 pounds in January.
572.4.
So in an effort to continue to lose weight...
That's pretty pathetic that I'm sitting here like, what is it? What diet plan am I doing right now? I've done so many, so it's like, which one am I doing?
And with the weight loss goal of 400 pounds, Amberlynn has flirted with Weight Watchers, Noom, and intuitive eating. But outside of diet attempts, her focus has been on curbing her binge eating episodes.
Sorry, my light is literally flashing. I hate this light in here. We need to change it.
All of which have collectively helped her lose close to 90 pounds. Now, it's important to mention that for Amberlynn, these episodes are not just benign binges that can, easily be overcome and forgotten about at the next meal or snack. There can actually be a difference between a binge and what Amberlynn has been diagnosed with, which is binge eating disorder. So to dive more...
See, this is why it's confusing, because they use the same word. One is obviously a disorder, binge eating disorder, but then binges are disordered eating. It's confusing.
And yes, when I went to the weight loss surgeon, and you guys know that whole thing, like I was fixing to literally get weight loss surgery, but it turns out
you had to commit to bettering yourself before they were willing to cut out part of your stomach, is my understanding of the situation.
My mental is not good enough for that, which I totally understand. When I saw the psychologist, he actually told me, sounds like I got binge eating disorder. And I've literally been told that by every single psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, counselor I've ever seen.
Then why don't you follow up and find a way to manage it, Amber? If you have received this diagnosis from multiple professionals, why are you not doing anything to address it? Why? Why is the ultimate question. And I think the answer is simply effort. It's too much effort. It's too much effort to address my poor health.
So,
if anyone out there feels like this story is resonating with them, take this moment for self-reflection and recognize any it's too high basket, right? That bump that you don't want to get checked out, or that fuzzy feeling behind your eyes you get when, straining too hard. Address the situation.
Topics, I've once again invited my colleague, eating disorder dietitian Alessandra Magisano, to provide her insight and expertise on the subject. Thank you again for joining me, Alessandra.
I'm nervous.
Hi, Alessandra.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be back.
So what is the difference between a binge and binge eating disorder?
Okay, so great question. The main difference between the two of them is essentially clinical criteria or diagnostic criteria. So a binge eating disorder is a mental health condition that can be technically diagnosed, and it follows very specific quantitative measurements. So things like eating a certain amount of food in a specific amount of time, generally larger than someone would eat comparably to you. And it also involves some qualitative measurements like feeling guilty, feeling uncomfortably full, eating when not hungry, things like that. But it's more quantitative in terms of recurrent episodes of binge eating, at least once a week, they say, in the past 3 months.
Yes. I believe WebMD told me this as well.
I do this. Oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional. As of lately, I do this every single night. Every single night.
Whereas a binge, first of all, could be on something other than food. And it's more subjective in nature. It can be more subjective. So someone can eat a cupcake and feel like it's a binge.
Oh, subjective. We love that. Thank you, Alessandra.
And that is completely valid. So that's the main difference between them.
I eat a cupcake and I'm proud of myself. Because if I've only had one cupcake, I'm on the right track. Wow. Wow. I'm really messed up. I really, truly am.
Amber, go and get help. Please, just go. Just go. I don't know how many more times can I see Amber have a spark of self-reflection and do nothing with it. Because it's too hard basket.
Very similar, really almost identical. The only difference is one kind of is clinical and checks off boxes, and the other one can actually be more subjective and takes into consideration more qualitative components.
Amazing, good to know. And regardless of diagnosis, what are some strategies to help kind of curb overeating and those binge cycles?
The main number one strategy for both is meal regulation. So whenever someone is experiencing either overeating cycles or binge eating cycles, it is because of some element of what we call chaotic eating, or eating that either doesn't satisfy enough physically or emotionally or mentally. So we want to look at, it's widely known that binging comes from some element of restriction. That's thankfully now pretty well known. But there's this other component.
Which is true, because my binge eating got the worst after living in Virginia, where for a large portion of the time I was eating only like 900 calories because I didn't know anything about nutrition. I didn't know anything about calories. It was all new to me in the sense of knowledge. Although before that, you know, I did diet a lot, but it was always under someone else's supervision because like I was in foster care, whatever. But that was the first time I had to diet on my own and chose what I would eat, etc., etc. So I knew no knowledge. So I was eating like 900 calories a day, and that's how I lost 89 pounds. And I would crazy binge to the point of like, I was like, wow, I've never ate this much before. And it was so uncontrollable that it scared me a lot of the time. And then I couldn't get a handle on it. And it was just like one day, that was that. And since that point, I
have not addressed it in a healthy manner.
Went from 331 to 572.
0.4.
And now I'm sitting at 520s. Wow.
Of mental restriction that is less often understood, and that's what I like to focus on with my clients as well, is this idea that your meal regulation is not just about going through the motions of eating enough food quantitatively, but it's also about feeling satisfied and feeling like it's enough, and that you're fueling yourself often. And one of the biggest struggles that I see in my clients is they often ask me, okay, but I'm working on my overeating, but I feel like I'm eating more. You're telling me to eat too much. And that's the biggest struggle, because ultimately it feels like they're eating more when really we're taking away the binging and we're taking away maybe the grazing. And
see, that's hard for me too, because it's like when I was doing Jenny Craig, which I haven't talked to you guys about that whole thing, which I need to. I don't obviously.
Is this day 7?
So I'm not doing Jenny Craig anymore. You had to eat breakfast, snack, lunch,
6 times
snack,
a day,
dinner,
yeah.
snack, and I was like, oh, this is perfect because I'm eating 6 times a day. But it's like all it ever made me do was think about food, and that was so unhealthy for me because I couldn't stop thinking about food. So it actually made me binge. I don't know.
The important thing is we're taking away the mindless eating that they weren't even aware they were doing. So they don't really count that. But when I'm like, okay, for lunch, have a sandwich and some veggies and hummus and a piece of fruit, they're like, that's a lot of food. That's a lot of food. But it feels like it is because it's mindful, intentional. So that's really the main strategy when we want to curb is meal regulation and satisfaction.
Amazing. Great tips. And in your opinion, why do a lot of weight loss diets fail individuals who suffer from binge eating disorder?
Well, I think weight loss diets fail everybody, and I think in one way they really are unfair to people who suffer from binge eating disorder and overeating, though, is because they're often, again, there's this stigma of that binge eating and overeating is about eating too much, a loss of control, no willpower. So weight loss diets offer this wonderful solution to just kind of fixing that, but it fails them ultimately because it's not about, it's about deprivation. Again, not just physically, but mental deprivation. But it pulls on their heartstrings of, you're not good enough. Like, you're just not doing it right. Like, if the diet didn't work, you eat too much, that's the problem. So it really is hard on them because they're disadvantaged in terms of the stigma of binge eating and overeating, for example.
So insightful. And is there often a focus on weight loss when treating people with binge eating disorders, or is this just like too triggering for the most part?
Definitely too triggering. It's very much counterindicated. So we would never focus on weight loss at all, at least at the beginning stages of treatment.
That's something that a lot of people don't realize. Every time someone tells me, go into inpatient care, you need to lose weight. First of all, no. Like, I'm not going to inpatient care. I will do outpatient, but I will not do inpatient. The point of inpatient care is not to lose weight. It's to get help with your binge eating. And when you do that, when you get help with any eating disorder, this is just knowledge that I have from people that I know and, you know, looking into it, etc. They don't focus on weight loss. So when people say that and they're like in the same sentence talking about my weight loss, it's like, you guys don't know what you're saying. So it's hard for me to, you know, recall.
I know what I'm saying. Get help with your binge eating disorder, Amber. Please. Whether or not you're going to stick to a diet or not, outside of my hands and control. I have no control here. I'm just talking. I'm a guy talking to a camera. But the running theme of this entire thing is that it is apparent that Amber has a poor relationship with food. And how can she address that? By seeking professional mental health assistance. Okay, got that out in the end. A team. And I mean, what's being said here, like, is engaging, and I really enjoy it. I very much enjoy listening to two professionals to speak on this, because, like, it makes a lot of sense. Deprivation and restriction and all of those things. Clearly, I do not have BED. But it sounds like you need to address a problem before you can address another problem. You can't just ignore both problems and kind of expect things to get better. And this is why your audience yells that things will never work out, because you're not addressing one of the key problems that is affecting your health, and that being your mental health. Anyway.
It's like that, and it's also like triggering and stuff, but anyways.
So just like how we would with someone who was suffering from anorexia or bulimia or any other type of eating disorder, weight loss cannot happen in recovery in terms of that can't be the focus of the goal, because often, remember, it's the symptom, right? Like, wanting weight loss is a part of the symptom. It doesn't mean it can't happen or can't be addressed, but it needs to happen within the process in order for it to work. Otherwise, it is too triggering and it gets in the way, because then it's...
Yeah, I love this because I've always thought of my weight as a symptom of something else, and it's most definitely a symptom of my binge eating, which then, in fact, in my opinion, is a symptom of something even higher. So it's just like,
I would dare say your binge eating is a symptom of poor mental health.
Like,
I don't know how many times I can say it. I mean, I feel like it's the only thing I can say on this video, is that she's talking herself around in circles in regards to her physical health and not addressing the point that she just brought up, in that, yes, my relationship with food is bad and there's something higher up. Yeah, it's the mental health element of it all, Amber.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
About, okay, but like, the progress is about weight loss, which negates all the other indicators that we try and focus on when it comes to recovery.
And how...
Keep pausing it. I need to stop. This video is so long. I know that when I stop binging, I lose weight. Recently, when I was down, almost 100 pounds, it's because I wasn't binging. I don't know what came over me. It happened maybe twice a week, which for me is not that much because I binge every night. It's that simple. And with me only binging twice a week, I was able to lose weight, you know? That just comes with it. When I don't binge, I lose weight. When I binge, I maintain or gain.
With somebody theoretically with binge eating disorder who is at a higher weight, is it possible for them to safely lose weight without feeling restricted? And how would that happen?
It is possible. The number one way it happens is time. It takes a long time, and you have to go through the process. So it's uncomfortable, but they have to go through the process of understanding where the binge eating came from to begin with. Because oftentimes what I find is when they start the process, it's like, okay, weight loss, that's what I don't feel comfortable with my body, I want to lose weight, and I hear them and I validate that. But once we go through the actual process of recovery and healing the relationship with food and therefore body,
healing a relationship with food. Could you imagine? I love that.
The idea of weight loss changes. So it's not necessarily that they completely give it up or that we don't touch it again, but we change together the definition of that. We might focus on.
And I'm listening to everything she's saying, but my mind is also going at it too. I am not saying that weight loss is not something I need to do. I'm not saying that weight loss isn't important. It 1,000% is. I need to lose weight so I can live longer.
Yes.
That is 1,000% true. It is so much harder than me just counting calories or doing Jenny Craig or doing Weight Watchers. Like, there's more to it than this. And that's why it's just so hard for me when people are just like, looks like she quit another diet. Looks like she's not doing Jenny Craig anymore. And it's like, people make jokes about it. And it's like, you're making jokes about a psychological problem that I'm going through. And for some reason, it's okay.
Your actions are a result of a psychological problem? Yes. You not addressing the psychological problem is just another problem. So to say, and I'm not making fun, but to say, oh look, Amber is not on Jenny Craig anymore. First of all, it's not a joke. It's just like, it is what it is. Your audience kind of turns it into a joke because it happens so consistently. But the level of which it is in regards to that consistency, I would assume is a direct correlation between the mental health and the relationship with food, which continue to go unaddressed years into mukbanging and attempts at weight loss. I feel for Amber in this moment. I feel for her situation because as someone who tried many diets in the past and failed, I know what it feels like. It's embarrassing, especially if you open yourself up to, and not even an audience, just friends, family members, your community. To fail at anything is it can be embarrassing, but that's a mental understanding. You can fail at something and still take the lessons learned and be, you know what, I can derive some pride out of that. I tried a thing. I really tried it. It can still remain embarrassing, but it's how you handle that in the aftermath, right? And I don't think Amber has truly ever reflected on her failed attempts at weight loss and tried to understand the why. She just understands that there are binges that occur, and that's the reason why I failed on the diet. But then she has that moment of clarity to say, well, there's something higher up. Seek help.
To do when it's about me, but if it was about anyone else, it's like, it's not okay to do. So it's a weird concept that bullying and making fun of someone's eating disorder is allowed under my channel, and which in fact makes it harder for me to get help and to love myself enough to want to get help.
I don't think Amber will ever love herself without professional assistance,
because I read these comments as a job. I feel like it's important that I do read the comments here and there, and they make me feel unworthy and like I'm not good enough of good things, and it just puts me in a really dark hole. Really, it does.
Well, what does weight loss mean for you?
Seek help, get out of the
health
comments.
Mean for you?
Is
it about
my suggestion.
A size? Oftentimes those kinds of things are what they would say at the beginning. It's about a jean size, or it's about looking a certain way in clothes. When you go through the process, the definition changes to something a little bit more holistic, and that's how it can safely be done, because then their mindset is shifted to something much healthier than just a body size alone. So it can be done safely. It just has to be done over time and
under supervision
with the right unpacking along the way.
And so could somebody with binge eating disorder ever get to the place of being able to eat intuitively?
Absolutely. I see it all the time. It's one of the most amazing things that can happen from binge eating disorder that is like pretty chaotic. In eating, you can go and eat really, really intuitively.
Emotional again, sorry.
Time and trust, because ultimately it's a relationship that's broken, and we just have to heal it. And once your relationship with your body is healed and you practice, that's the other thing I tell my clients, you've got to practice. It's not perfect. You're gonna have days where you don't eat intuitively because
I just want to be normal. I just want to be normal. I'm sorry, it's just some of the things she's saying. It's just like, I remember I was watching a video with I was gonna say with Becky. I was watching a video by myself, but Becky was in the room with me, and it was a Vlogmas video, and this girl, she was showing like what she was eating for dinner, and I was just like, that portion is so small. And I had to remind myself, it's not small, it's normal. And I want to be normal. I want to be that person. And just knowing that I never will be is so hard to wrap my head around. Like, I don't know anything different than what I know now and how I am now. And it's just really emotional for me.
You guys know what I'm going to say. Seek help. That's all. We speak about moments of clarity quite often. And that's what this is. If you have a desire to, if you have an understanding that something seems out of place, if it's your relationship with food, if it is a physical anomaly, if it is anger, which it was in my case, or if it's just based in emotional reactions, seek help. Seek help, find help. Because there's nothing worse than having things go on and on and on, untreated, to the point where perhaps there is no turning back.
Oh, you're busy at work and you know you need to eat and you're maybe not really hungry, but you know you have to. That's not really intuitive, but it kind of is, because you know you need it in the bigger scheme of things. So these are the ways that we talk about intuitive eating. We make it practical, and absolutely anyone can eat intuitively.
And do you see success with implementing like mindfulness strategies for people who have binge eating disorder, and like what would be the most effective?
Mindfulness is absolutely number one, very effective. And ultimately it's effective because it forces the client to be aware of the present moment, which is usually the opposite of what's happening when they're overeating or they're binge eating. Even if they're aware, some clients will say like, oh, I'm pretty aware I'm binge eating. Even so, there's a disconnection with your body. So mindfulness kind of brings that all to the surface. So it's things like unpacking, your triggers, environmental triggers, figuring.
Like, speaking of triggers, the video with me and Becky, we were in the car and we were just having a good time, we were gonna go see Christmas lights, and I'm doing Vlogmas, so I wanted to just vlog, and see in the comments talk about how big I am in the car, and people were like joking about it and saying rude things. There were a lot of jokes, a lot. And then there were some people who were just like, wow, Amberlynn, you're so big. I think it's, time for you to get a new car and to get help. You can't even fit. Like, it triggered me so bad. And I binged afterwards, because it's like, seeing things like that, like, that doesn't help me. That didn't help me at all. It just made me feel worse about myself, and I wanted to numb it.
I'll interrupt here just to say this is a moment where Amber is recognizing a trigger. So the trigger for Amber binging, according to this, is negative interaction within her comments. Amber has the full capability to not read her comments. She has the capability to turn them off. She has the choice to read or not read them. You can't lambaster your audience to say, don't ever say anything negative about me ever, or it will result in a binge and the detriment of my health. That is dangerous language. Amber, you choose what to read. And I'm not saying that her emotions are invalid, and I'm not saying I understand her binge disorder. I do not at all. And I do try to educate. Wow, Zach. I do try to educate myself as much as possible, and that's why I appreciate a lot of discussion. But I don't know what it's like inside of Amber's mind. I only know what she tells me, what I can see, what I can derive from a situation. So, absolutely, it sucks that she feels this way. But as an adult, we make a conscious decision to do things. Binge eating disorder may impact the physicality of, our relationship with food and how we interact with it. But I don't think there is a direct correlation between disordered eating and how deeply you go into the comments. And if it's a trigger, great. You've now vocalized your awareness of being in the comments as a trigger, but you cannot expect your audience to be pressured into keeping their criticism off or their interactions off because they negatively impact you. And now it's a hard conversation because we have to talk about Daddy Google's TOS. Because now we have to circle back into the idea of harm. And the relationship between triggers directly on a platform and the harm that can come about because of it. There is now a direct line being drawn in Amber. And all of this because of mukbangs, right? Madness.
And I've talked about this before where I'm like, I want to feel good about myself and love myself because that's the only way that I will change. And I know it seems so, like, that doesn't make sense, because if you hated yourself, then you would want to lose weight. And if you loved yourself how you are, then you wouldn't. Like, I get that.
You can recognize love for yourself and want improvement. And I think that's a key motivator for a lot of people, is that I love myself enough not to treat myself awfully anymore. I do. I love myself enough not to take my health for granted, both physically and mentally. I love myself enough to want to do exciting things, to feel adrenaline, to learn new things, to live new experiences. I love myself enough to give myself those things. And I love myself enough to change. Because you have to reach a point of self-love to recognize just how bad it can be and how much better it can be.
But I see it so differently. I see it as, like, if I love myself, then I would want to lose weight if I feel positive and within myself and all this. But then if I am self-loathing and reading comments like that, it makes me want to numb it, which then in fact makes me emotional eat and binge. And it's just like, that was so hard to see, like, seeing people make fun of my size is so, it's so sad, and it is fat phobic. And I talk about this all the time, and people don't want to accept that you are fat phobic, whether it be subconsciously or not.
Critical, sure. Mean and hateful, she has said before, and I don't go deep into her comments because I care for my own mental health far more than I believe she does. Yeah, don't blame your audience, Amber. Just don't. Recognize that there are things that you can do to improve your relationship, both with the content that your audience puts out and your audience in general. But it comes with work. It requires work. And whether or not, like, I still am firmly in the camp that I don't believe Amber can improve her life or lifestyle without someone assisting her. Whether or not that's a team, an individual, whatever. And in regards to fat phobia, whatever. We've had this argument a million times before. Calling out someone's behavior and criticizing them does not fat phobia make. There may be elements in all of that, but as I understand it, it is up to the individual. And when Amber makes claims like this, she divides her audience quite heavily and essentially is trying to tell us, in my understanding of this, is trying to tell us that if you criticize me, you are the cause of my binge and you are fat phobic. That's how I have understood this argument here. Feel free to let me know in the comments below if you have understood this conversation in a different light.
Do we have to reposition things in your kitchen? Do we have to reposition where you sit at the table? Screen time, bowls, portioning.
Yeah. Triggers can literally
all those
be
kinds of
anything.
things help to bring mindfulness to the surface, as well as tons of journaling. So that helps.
I love a journal.
At the
I don't
beginning,
journal.
I'll have clients write a ton of notes around their meal times. I'm less concerned with their logging of the food and more about the context around it, because that's the mindfulness piece. And so it's very important.
That's a good idea.
Amazing.
I like
Okay, and
that.
finally, what are some strategies to help reduce that emotional eating component that may contribute to binge eating, of course, in addition to therapy?
Mm-hmm. So like I
Therapy's
mentioned,
really
journaling is very, very helpful. But again, it's this idea of just tuning into your body's cues. So I like to use introspective awareness a lot with my clients and asking them, how do you, can you listen to your heartbeat, your pulse? How do you know you have to go to the bathroom, your bladder being full? Do you ever question that? They're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, that's where I want you to get with food. Or you don't question it. Your body gives you a message and you just do it. So that's what we're working towards. And there's little strategies that I work with clients on to work towards that. Things like hunger scales to figure out where am I in terms of hunger before a meal, middle of the meal, after a meal.
That really, if I was to do that, like now, how I've been now, it's like before I eat, my normal like body, like physical hunger scale is like 1. But my emotional, let's binge, let's do this, let's get like high off of food, out of 10, it's like 15. That's just, it's all so unhealthy and hard to wrap my head around. And the things that I go through behind the camera, it's a lot.
Over time. And also things like grounding techniques I find very, very effective. So similar to the mindfulness stream, I pull from DBT, dialectical behavior therapy modalities, where they talk about using grounding and using your senses as a means to ground and calm anxiety. In DBT, they use it for anxiety. So sometimes I use it when we have urges for binging. So we might kind of together figure out, okay, well, which of the 5 senses do you identify strongest? And if someone says, you know what, I just touch is really important to me, we might think of something that they can use as a touch mechanism to have with them when they are experiencing an urge or when they're coping through something, like fuzzy blankets or like a squishy ball or a fidget
I love a
spinner,
blanket.
things like that. And any of the senses
And a
have
pillow.
These very powerful tactile grounding
I fidget.
techniques and strategies. So we create kind of like an urge toolkit using these strategies, so that when people go into situations that are very stressful around food, or even when they're at home dealing with a mealtime, you can go towards this to curb the emotion. Because whenever we got emotion, we just got to ground and get present.
And so what about those clients who say, I know I'm hungry, I know I'm full, but what do I do about the times where I'm hungry for the wrong foods?
Mm-hmm.
Which is me all the
Great
time.
question. So my answer to that would be, let's figure out why.
Amber all the time because she doesn't understand her hunger. And she could with help.
Think they're wrong foods, right? Because that goes back to the mental restriction then. So even though you might say like, okay, I want the bad foods, the reason you want them is because you think that they're bad. There's a lot of emotional.
See, it's like, I disagree with that. In the sense of like, okay, say right now, I'm craving a McDonald's cheeseburger with just onion because I'm not really into the sauce. I am craving their 20-piece nugget where I just eat the outside of it because I'm not really into the innards.
All right, just eating straight fried batter.
A large Sprite. I want like 2 hot fudge sundaes and definitely a large fry.
Jesus,
those are bad foods.
So a lot of food. It's a high quantity.
I do look at food as very, okay, that's bad food, that's good food.
Yeah,
and there's like
same.
a middle ground as well. But I feel in my...
I mean, I feel like I didn't come across great when I mentioned my like definitions of good and bad food, like comparing a Big Mac to a celery stick. It's less about good versus bad and more about health versus unhealth or non-health. But for me, it's just recognizing that this is a thing that is less healthy than this other thing. And that's about me learning about calories, and it's got nothing to do with how satiated I might feel after it. But it's purely derived from education, like self-education and understanding that like this has this many calories and this has this many calories, and just basic. Anyway.
Heart that it's okay to have a bad food as long as you also have a good food with it. But it's...
I disagree with that vehemently. How many times have you used that in my reaction today? I disagree with that. It doesn't balance each other out. You can have a meal, right? Let's take chicken parmigiana for instance, right? If you break down the elements of a chicken parmigiana, you have the chicken, which depending on the cut may be a lean protein. It may not be. You have to also consider the fact that it's breaded and fried, which are not necessarily healthy forms of preparing a dish. You then have things like the sauce, which might be good, might be bad, depending on whether or not there's added sugar, which I know at times will happen with tomato sauces. And you know, how closely you're counting how much sugar you're having, all of that. Again, all of our health is different. Sugar in a sauce may not matter that much to me, but it surely matters to a friend who may be diabetic, right? Because we have different interactions with health and food. And then the cheese, right? I'm not lactose intolerant, but a friend of mine might be. So they may not, like that might be unhealthy for them. So no, it doesn't, like if I have a side salad with it, it's not counteracting the fats and potentially bad oils that have been soaked up by the breadcrumbs. Doesn't, like having a 99% fat-free vinaigrette doesn't negate the calories in the cheese, which is fat-filled. So it's like, I don't think it's about eating something healthy and eating something unhealthy. I think it's just about recognizing your relationship between, like, with food and consistency. But that's just, I'm only speaking about what works for me. For me, it's consistency, and it's being able to reward myself at goals, and it's becoming goal orientated and finding motivation, rather than justifying, well, I can eat this one bad thing if I eat this healthy thing at the same time. Like, I think that speaking about two things in front of you being unhealthy and healthy and eating them both, I don't get it. They don't negate each other. You can reward yourself with something, and I mean, people will probably speak a lot about how unhealthy, you know, rewarding yourself with food is, and I would tend to agree. But I see it more as I'm giving myself a break. Like I've restricted my calories to lose weight for however long. Okay, I will give myself this. I will be kind to myself and give myself something that I may have been craving or may just enjoy as something to break the norm. Anyway.
It's like, whenever I have bad food, I'm not thinking of good food at all.
Energy that gets charged when we have to think that something's bad. So, you know, I get this question all the time, like, but there are foods, aren't there foods that people just shouldn't eat? Like, how can you be a dietitian and tell me that, like, there aren't foods, right? I'm sure you hear it too.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Aren't there foods that we just shouldn't eat? And I say, you know, like, of course there is general nutrition, of course there's foods you should have more often, etc. But the energy that you spend trying to villainize those foods takes away from your decision in that moment to make another choice. So you don't have to choose that food, but you don't have to hate it. Let's just neutralize it. So if
Yeah, I think the argument that is happening here is like emotional responses to food and the connection of the emotional connections that we put with food. Like, I don't hate a Big Mac. I don't. I just recognize the fact that it's not good for me. And therefore, in a layman's definition, I believe a Big Mac is unhealthy. You can, like, have it if you want. That's fine. I'm making my own choice. But it is very interesting to hear, like, professionals speak on this. Because, again, it's about, like, they've spoken about previously, like, restricting and how that's not going to work for someone with BED. And, like, I would assume if you said, well, this food is bad and you can't have it, that would just be a potential issue down the line. I don't know.
You know when you're hungry, know when you're full, but you just want the bad foods. It's because you're thinking about bad foods. It has too much power, and potentially you're not getting enough food also during the day, right? Like if you're craving somewhere, usually the first thing we look at with cravings is you're not eating enough.
I'm not so sure about that either, because I binge. Like, yeah, it's it's a lot more likely and to happen if I am restricting hardcore throughout the day, whether it be calorie counting, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, like whatever it may be. Even after, I do have a big breakfast or I do have a big lunch, like none of that matters to me. Like, when my body's ready for a binge, it's ready for a binge no matter what I ate the day prior. Or not the day prior, but in the day prior to the binge.
But when you are, and there's a physical component satisfied, then we look emotional. And we say, well, then you're probably thinking that it's bad, and that's why you want it, so let's do some exposure therapy.
Right. It's kind of the difference between physical restriction and emotional scarcity. That's same kind of...
Sorry, when she mentioned exposure therapy, my mind went to like a few of my biggest fears ever, but I don't want to get into it. I've been thinking a lot about exposure therapy recently regarding certain things, and I don't want to think about that anymore because it's traumatizing and it's scary.
Yes. It's a fun
I'm glad we got that in there.
Boundary. Yeah. And that's ultimately what recovery is about, is learning what is a boundary and what is a restriction, and knowing that one is flexible and one is inflexible. And that's the difference.
Love that. Flexible and inflexible. That is so helpful. Thank you again so much, Alessandra, for providing so much helpful insights.
I like that. I like her too.
Once again, everyone, I'm going to be leaving all of our contact information in the description below so that you can reach out if you're looking for some one-on-one support. So thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Thank you again to Alessandra for
I
providing
wish she was my
insights.
dietitian.
So once again, I'm going to be leaving all of our contact information below.
I would, okay, I can't say I would thrive because, but I feel like if I had both of them in my life and like they were there to like help me, I don't know, they give off really, really good energy, and it's like their knowledge is so strong and they're not there to judge. Like they're being like 1,000% like just knowledgeable and caring and kind and compassionate. And I mean, I guess that's what you expect from people who truly are dietitians, because it's like, I'm so used to my comments, and I'm not trying to be victim Lynn, but I'm just so used to like the hate and the backlash I get.
Your audience is not your dietitian, Amber. Your audience is not your therapist. Understand what your audience is there for, and you do. You absolutely do. Oh my goodness. Oh my, I have no words, and that's rare.
This whole weight topic, and even from reaction channels, like they're literally profiting off of my eating disorder while being mad that I'm profiting off of it. It's really weird.
Yeah, what was that circular logic? Look, I may come across as mad sometimes, but I swear I'm not. Frustrated is much more the emotion that I feel when Amber speaks like this, because I would love so much to see Amber win, to see Amber succeed, to do better, to be better. She would, like, I believe she may rub it in our faces quite hard, but I would be so glad to see a win, but we're not going to see a win, and we haven't seen a win. And it's less getting pressed about eating on camera and monetarily gaining from it now. I mean, I had a problem with that like way back when I first fell down this rabbit hole. But the further I get into this, the more I realize that it is the relationship that she has with food and refuses to address. So let's just call it what it is, and it's ignoring your own mental health to the detriment of both your mental and physical health. That's my issue. If you want to sit on camera and mukbang and make money from it, sure. I don't have to agree with it. And I specifically don't have to agree with it now that you've made all of these connections to your deteriorating mental health. And that's what it is. I don't want to see someone making money on camera by abusing themselves. Because that's all I can really argue it is. As an ex-smoker, if I all of a sudden turned leaf and decided I'm just going to smoke on camera, an entire packet while I do reactions, I would highly expect people to be, one, calling me out for it, but two, questioning my health decisions. Oh, goodness.
And I don't know, it's like, I'm just so used to being talked down to because of this, that it's nice that like there are two women who are openly just like, Amberlynn Reid has a problem and this is the problem and these are the facts. I know they're not like diagnosing me, but let's be real, like everything they're saying is literally about me.
They're analyzing your content, which you have said is not necessarily 100% who Amberlynn Reid is. But yes, these professionals have given some advice and have analyzed what they see and have discussed clinical definitions and studies, which is perfect. You can't tell me that she couldn't experience this from either a therapist or a dietitian nutritionist outside of YouTube. Man, it makes me think that she's so heavily tied to YouTube and to the social media-ness of it all, that anything outside of YouTube is just like, I don't want to say frightening because she does say that often, but it's almost, it's elements of escapism. Like I can see that, even though she is in the spotlight, it's still that attempt at detachment from the character we see and the individual. Because the character we see is having this interaction with another YouTuber, is receiving all of this focus, is diving into the comments. But the individual who lives the reality off camera is not receiving any mental or physical health assistance. Anyway.
So it's just like a breath of fresh air, but it's also like very hard to listen to.
Reach out for some one-on-one support. Okay, so again, the intention of this review is not to diagnose or pathologize Amberlynn, but to use her content for educational purposes to provide you with helpful insights and knowledge on emotional eating and the complicated world of obesity, weight stigma, and binge eating disorder. I also want to strongly remind you to please be kind in the comments, both here and on Amberlynn's channel. Your words are so powerful, so please use them wisely. We ultimately cannot know what somebody is going through off camera. So I really do ask you guys to consider if the comments are helpful or supportive, or if they contribute to the weight stigma and discrimination.
Here I go again, crying again. I am going through a lot off camera. Some things are happening like just within my family and just within myself. And it's like, I used to be very open on YouTube. I'm sure you guys remember years and years ago, like things that were just like, I would talk about all parts of my family and what they're going through. And it's like, that's not like my job to do, is share their story for all these strangers. And also like within myself, a lot of the things that I'm going through is just like, I have learned to keep certain aspects of my life private. And I get a lot of, why do you have anxiety? Why are you sad? You do nothing all day. That's what I show you guys. I show you guys as much humor as I can, you know, as much of the good side of my life as I can. And even then, it's not that great because I am choosing not to talk about the true life that I have. I'm just not comfortable with it. And so I choose to show you the, you know, oh, me and Becky are opening gifts, or watch me clean my vanity. What shampoo and conditioner do I use? You know, I just no longer feel comfortable sharing such personal and deep aspects of my life, is what I'm trying to say. And you really never know what someone's going through, you know. Everyone has a story, and everyone has their demons and secrets and things that they don't talk about or share.
That people in larger bodies are so often subjected to. And on that note,
I didn't hear what she said.
Or supportive, or if they contribute to the weight stigma and discrimination that people in larger bodies are so often subjected to.
Yep. Yep. I'm not going to get into that.
And on that note, that is all for today's video. If you liked it, be sure to give it the thumbs up. Leave me a comment below with who you'd like to see me review next. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen.
Okay, so I loved this. I thoroughly loved this. I'm definitely going to be subscribing to her based on the fact that she has so much knowledge. Even in this video, I've learned some things, and my eyes are wider and open more than ever.
I would love Miss Abbey Sharp to contact Miss Amberlynn Reid and take her as a client. I just would. Because if this has sparked something in Amber, if Amber sees Miss Abbey Sharp as helpful with the potential to assist, there's nothing but goodness that can come out of that. Now, it may be troublesome in that Amber doesn't have a great history with working with healthcare professionals. However, if this is a different situation, I'd be keen. But I wonder, and it is interesting because Abby was saying that she wasn't here to diagnose, but it also seems like, apart from suggesting some like replacements on the meals, there wasn't a whole lot of advice aimed at Amber. And it was much more of a review of the content rather than let me help you. So interesting. And like thinking about people like Obese to Beast who reached out in the past and tried to assist with Amber. Like, obviously, perhaps just a motivational individual focused on healthcare is not enough, and perhaps a learned individual such as Abby may be a better reach. But I don't know. I'd love to see it personally, but if we go into 2021 and Amber refuses to address the concerns of her mental health, it would make me upset. And in what she's saying, I understand pulling back, because obviously putting so much out there on the internet can make an audience more keenly aware of what's going on. But yeah, sticky situation.
And I really appreciate her taking this video and making it into something more educational than judgy. I don't know, I feel like a lot is like going on up here now, and I highly doubt anyone watched this far, and if you did, I am just really curious if you did. So let's say a random word in the comments if you watched this whole thing, because I have never uploaded a video this long on YouTube. I hope that it even uploads. The random word I want you guys to say below, since it's Christmas time. And
no, what? No. We're not playing games with the engagement on this video. I feel like this is misplaced.
And, you know, let's say candy cane. So yeah, if you've watched this far, I'm really curious. Say the word candy cane. Let's see if you guys enjoy me uploading videos this long. But yeah, it was fun reacting to her, and I hope that you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you.
Was that fun? That did not seem fun. I do not feel enthused or in a fun mood. I feel quite down, actually.
Next video. Bye.
Bye, Amber. Okay, so ultimately that was a little bit hard to watch, and if you got to this point in the video, thank you so much for your patience. I understand that this would have been a big chunk of everybody's time, and I'm sure many of my lovely audience have seen this clip either in its entirety already or seen Miss Abbey Sharp's content itself. So I very much look forward to the comments below and the discussions that we'll have. But ultimately, I don't know how many more times I can say it. It is very apparent that the mental health is not being looked after, and perhaps that needs to be a focus for Amber, for her to succeed in the future, which I truly hope for, because I recall when Amber said, I want to be an inspiration, I want to be motivational. And for me, she is, but not in a good way. So fingers crossed in 2021, she can address some of the concerns that she brought up in this video and have a win. And I would love to see it. Sorry, I have stuff in my nose. If you got to this point, once again, thank you so much. As always, I appreciate your comments, opinions, and eyeballs. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.